Chapter 1147. After seeing Tang Ao give the explosive talismans to Lu Mubai, Wang Mang also shouted at Tang Ao, "Brat, give me a few explosive talismans too." Although Wang Mang's tone was very rude, Tang Ao didn't get angry. Without wasting time with Wang Mang, Tang Ao threw the explosion talisman at him. The explosive talisman refined by Tang Ao was much more powerful than ordinary explosive talismans. Naturally, it would not be fully activated like ordinary explosive talismans. However, Tang Ao didn't tell Wang Mang about this, and Wang Mang naturally didn't know. After obtaining the explosion talisman, Wang Mang was not as cautious as Lu Mubai and directly activated the explosion talisman. However, as soon as Wang Mang activated the explosive talisman, he realized that something was wrong. Unfortunately, it was too late. A fireball exploded in front of Wang Mang. The shockwave from the explosion sent Wang Mang flying into the wall behind him. Although Wang Mang's skin was coarse and his flesh thick, he still felt like his body was about to fall apart from the explosion. After catching his breath, Wang Mang glared at Tang Ao with eyes spewing fire, as if he wanted to swallow Tang Ao whole. But at this moment, Lu Sanyuan said indifferently, "The 7-star array altar needs 7 people to activate. If you have any grudges, do as you please after the 7-star array altar is activated. Before that, please give this old man some face." After Lu Sanyuan finished speaking, he walked towards the other place Tang Ao had marked. He wasn't worried that Wang Mang would continue to attack Tang Ao. Perhaps Lu Sanyuan's words had an effect, or perhaps Wang Mang had other plans. But after Lu Sanyuan finished speaking, Wang Mang didn't attack Tang Ao. Instead, he coldly snorted and walked to the side. Lu Mubai looked at the explosion talisman in his hand, and his eyes flickered. At the same time, he rejoiced in his heart. Tang Ao's explosive talisman was several times more powerful than ordinary explosive talismans. There is definitely something wrong with Lu Mubai just now. Now that he looked at it, it was indeed so. Wang Mang was a body refinement martial artist, yet he was almost injured by the explosion talisman. If he had rashly used this explosion talisman, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. Tang Ao ignored Lu Mubai's gaze and took out another explosion talisman and walked toward the wall. When Tang Ao arrived in front of the wall, a trace of surprise flashed in Tang Ao's heart. Tang Ao hastily activated his sky polarity pupils and discovered that there was indeed a thunder crystal in the wall. However, there was a hidden room behind the wall. In a dark room, there were many thunder crystal stones piled up like a small mountain. Clearly, they were spares. Tang Ao felt a burst of excitement in his heart. At the same time, he was secretly thinking about how to get his hands on these thunder crystal stones. Tang Ao's heart was filled with regret. If he and Chu Shuahan had come down after discovering this cave mansion, then the things in this cave mansion would have nothing to do with Lu Sanyuan and the rest. Now, it wouldn't be easy for Tang Ao to take away the thunder crystals from the hidden room under the eyes of Lu Sanyuan and the others. 2 hours later, Tang Ao began to dig for the 11th thunder crystal. However, when Tang Ao took out the explosion talisman, he was stopped by Wang Mang. "Tang Ao, you have already taken 10 thunder crystals. Why are you still taking more?" In fact, after discovering the mountain of thunder crystal stones in the dark room, Tang Ao was no longer interested in the thunder crystal stones embedded in the walls. It was just that Tang Ao wanted to remove all the thunder crystals around the hidden room to prevent Lu Sanyuan and the others from discovering the hidden room. There are 80 thunder crystals here. Each of you will take 10, and I will take 20. Is there a problem? Chapter 1148. Don't quarrel. This isn't the only thing in this cave. Like I said, little friend Tang Ao will get 10% more of the things we find. Lu Sanyuan said with some impatience. If it wasn't for the fact that the 7 stars array altar needed 7 people, Lu Sanyuan would have already killed them. Why would he bother talking nonsense with them? In Lu Sanyuan's view, no matter how many things Tang Ao had, they would all belong to him in the end. Therefore, it was only right to give a little more to Tang Ao. Among the 7 people here, Only Lu Mubai and Lu Sanyuan did not have full confidence in being able to stop them. As for the others, once the 7 stars array altar opened, they would be useless. As Lu Sanyuan thought about it, he used a diamond chisel to chisel the wall. After Lu Sanyuan spoke, Wang Mang naturally would not talk back. Wang Mang came down this time to follow Lu Sanyuan to look for things. Moreover, Wang Mang also expected that Lu Sanyuan would most likely burn the bridge after crossing the river. Therefore, Wang Mang wanted to obtain as many good things as possible before the 7 stars array altar opened. Once Lu Sanyuan turned hostile, he would immediately leave. In a direct confrontation, he might not be Lu Sanyuan's opponent. However, it would not be easy for Lu Sanyuan to take him down. Among the people, the fastest one was Tang Ao. Currently, Tang Ao had already taken out 15 thunder crystals. After Tang Ao, the second fastest was Lu Sanyuan. Currently, he had dug out 9 thunder crystals. The Lu brothers worked together and had already dug out 14 thunder crystals. However, after the 2 of them split it, each of them only had 7. Lu Mubai and Wang Mang's speed was the same. They had only dug out 6 thunder crystals. Chu Xuahan's speed was the slowest. She had only dug out 3 thunder crystals. In fact, Chu Xuahan being able to reach this step was already very good. Although her cultivation was higher than Tang Ao's, Tang Ao did not use ordinary methods to excavate the thunder crystal stones. Compared to Lu Mubai and the others, it was not easy for Chu Xuahan to dig out half of their thunder crystal ores in the same amount of time. Before long, Lu Sanyuan dug out the 10th thunder crystal. After obtaining the 10 thunder crystal rocks, Lu Sanyuan went to a corner and sat down cross-legged to regulate his breathing. He did not continue to attack the other thunder crystal rocks. Seeing that Lu Sanyuan kept his promise, Lu Mubai and the others were relieved. When Lu Sanyuan saw their relaxed expressions, he sneered in his heart. After Lu Sanyuan took out 10 thunder crystal rocks, Tang Ao also took out 20 thunder crystal rocks not long after. After taking out 20 thunder crystal rocks, Tang Ao went to Chu Xuahan's side and began to help Chu Xuahan dig out the thunder crystal rocks. After Tang Ao walked over, Chu Xuahan took out 4 thunder crystal rocks from the wall and handed them to Tang Ao. "You are a refiner. This stone is yours. It is useless for me to have it." Although he knew that Chu Xuahan sincerely wanted to give the thunder crystal rocks to him, Tang Ao still smiled bitterly. The 20 thunder crystal rocks on him were enough to make people envious. If Chu Xuahan's 10 thunder crystal rocks were also on him, then once the 7-star array altar was opened, Wang Mang would definitely snatch it without thinking. Even though Tang Ao thought of this, he still didn't refuse. Although Chu Xuahan's cultivation was higher than him, if they really fought, Chu Xuahan's situation would be more dangerous than him. After awakening the wind, thunder, dark cloud, even if Tang Ao was not their opponent, it would not be easy for them to kill Tang Ao. Moreover, once Tang Ao escaped, Wang Mang and the others would not be able to catch up. Chapter 1149. This wasn't Wang Mang intentionally targeting Tang Ao. In fact, apart from himself, Wang Mang didn't trust anyone. When Wang Mang was randomly smashing the walls, Lu Qing and the others were laughing coldly. On the other hand, Tang Ao was extremely worried. This was because a few times, the walls that Wang Mang was smashing were the walls of the hidden room. If Wang Mang accidentally smashed the hidden room, Tang Ao would probably vomit blood. "Brother Tang, is there anything else here?" Lu Mubai asked politely. Lu Mubai could also see that Tang Ao was someone who could be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. At this moment, there was no benefit in clashing with Tang Ao. This cave dwelling was rather strange. There were many places that soul remembrance couldn't penetrate. Moreover, Tang Ao, who possessed heavenly polar pupils, was like a fish in water in this place. "Let's go. There's nothing else here. At least, my heavenly polar pupils can't see any other treasures. Of course, if anyone doesn't believe me, you can continue searching here." After speaking, Tang Ao walked to the side with Chu Xuahan. Since there's nothing else, let's go inside. Lu Sanyuan didn't say anything else and led the way inside. After walking for a while, many rooms appeared on both sides. The doors of these rooms had all been smashed by brute force. Without even asking, Tang Ao knew that this was Lu Sanyuan's doing. Meanwhile, Lu Sanyuan stopped and said bluntly, "These rooms were all smashed by me. However, I didn't find anything in these rooms. Therefore, everyone should take a closer look to see if there's anything special about these rooms." Master Lu's formation path and equipment path aren't weak. Even Master Lu can't see the secret in these rooms. Lu Qing sneered. Lu Qing clearly didn't believe Master Lu's words. This was because in one of the rooms, Lu Qing saw clear traces of an array. Clearly, someone had used an array to do something inside. In response to Lu Qing's question, Master Lu didn't say anything. He walked to the side and sat down. He had already explored this place several times, but to no avail. At this moment, it would be futile for him to continue exploring. He might as well have Tang Ao and the others search around to see if there were any hidden secrets or treasures here. In reality, what Master Lu said earlier was only half true. There were 24 rooms here, and Master Lu found a key in each of them. However, Master Lu did not know what the key was used for. Although he found concealment restrictions in these rooms, and even used array formations to break the concealment restrictions in several of the rooms, he didn't gain anything. After Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to scan the area a few times, he only found a few restrictions that he had never seen before. As for the other things, Tang Ao didn't find them. Since he couldn't find anything with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao immediately used his heavenly polar pupils to look around. Under the observation of the heavenly polar eyes, he could see some vague formation patterns. These formation patterns were rather profound, and Tang Ao couldn't tell what kind of formation patterns they were. Although he couldn't tell what these formation patterns were for, Tang Ao put two of his fingers together and shot out a beam of light. Then, he started drawing these formation patterns on the surrounding walls, floor, and ceiling. After seeing that Tang Ao had discovered something else, Master Lu's spirit was lifted. He inwardly exclaimed that bringing Tang Ao here was indeed the right decision. Chapter 1150. While Tang Ao and the others were searching for treasures in the underground palace, something else was happening on the snowy ground. The cold wind howled in the rime forest, and the air was thick with murderous intent. A warrior in white, covered in blood, leaned against a rime ice tree. If Tang Ao was here, he would definitely recognize this warrior in white as Song Chung. But at this moment, Song Chung was no longer elegant and carefree, and he was in a sorry state. Tang Ao also recognized the three people in front of Song Chung. The young man in the middle was Lei Ming. Beside Lei Ming were naturally Mr. Yuda and Mr. Yuer. Speaking of which, Song Chung was really unlucky. After escaping from Tang Ao's hands, he immediately went to inform Lei Lingyun. Lei Lingyun had arranged informants in all the major forces, and Song Chung was Lei Lingyun's informant in the Qinghua Palace. After being chased away by Tang Ao and the others, Song Chung was ready to report to Lei Lingyun about the underground cave that Tang Ao and the others had discovered. But before Song Chung could reach Lei Lingyun, he was intercepted by Lei Ming and the others. Others might not know Song Cheng's identity, but Lei Ming did. At this moment, Lei Ming was on his way to find Tang Ao, and Song Chung was one of his brother's people. Coincidentally, he was rushing over from Tang Ao's location. This made Lei Ming suspect that Tang Ao had already been killed by Song Chung, and the cosmic art was most likely in Song Cheng's hands. Therefore, Lei Ming blocked Song Cheng's path. In the cave, under the snow, everyone's eyes were on the Lu brothers. Even though Tang Ao and Lu Sanyuan had great attainments and formations, neither Tang Ao nor Lu Sanyuan could recognize the origin and use of these formation patterns. Lu Qing smiled faintly. We've seen this formation pattern twice. The first time was in the Lightning Tower, and the second time was in the Life and Death Tower in the Black Crow Market. Because these two places were not ordinary, they left a deep impression on us. Therefore, when Tang Ao sketched out this array pattern, we brothers immediately recognized this array pattern. Tang Ao didn't expect the two of them to have seen this kind of array pattern in Black Crow Market's life and Death Tower. Tang Ao had been to Black Crow Market's life and Death Tower once. Later on, Hong Chong had gone to ask for Tang Ao. Only then did Tang Ao successfully leave the life and Death Tower. There were many strange people imprisoned in the life and Death Tower. At the thought of the life and Death Tower, Tang Ao thought of the peerless square owner Jinmi. Although Tang Ao had only seen that woman a few times, it was as if she had an inexhaustible charm. Just by looking at her, people would be able to remember her. There's a formation pattern like this in the Lightning Tower. Lu Sanyuan was confused. Unlike Tang Ao, Lu Sanyuan hadn't been to the Life and Death Tower in the Black Crow Market, but he had been to the Lightning Tower. The Lightning Tower was also used to imprison martial artists. It was just that these martial artists were all unlucky ones. Of all the spirit roots they could have, they just had to have a lightning spirit root. That's right. When we were working in the Lightning Tower, we saw this formation pattern by chance, and we even saw what it looked like after it changed. Lu Qing didn't continue. Tang Ao understood what Lu Qing meant. He wanted to ask for benefits, so Tang Ao said, although the two of you know how to open the formation pattern, you can't see it. Therefore, if we want to get what the formation pattern is hiding, we need to work together to break it open. No matter what is under the formation pattern, I'll pick 3 first. I don't want the rest. What do the two of you mean? After saying that, Tang Ao looked at Lu Qing and Lu Feng. Chapter 11:51. Why don't we do this? After breaking open the formation, we can take turns, and each person can take 1 item. Of course, Tang Ao and the Lu family brothers can take it first. Lu Mubai suggested after thinking for a moment. Although Lu Sanyuan was taking care of Tang Ao, Lu Mubai knew that Lu Sanyuan wanted to kill Tang Ao. Once the 7-star formation altar was opened, Lu Sanyuan would definitely attack Tang Ao. This way, the treasures on Tang Ao would become Lu Sunyuan's. Lu Mubai didn't have much confidence in dealing with Lu Sanyuan, but he was confident in dealing with the Lu family brothers. Moreover, if Tang Ao took the 3 items first, the Lu family brothers would most likely do the same. Although Lu Mubai wasn't afraid of the Lu family brothers, he still didn't want to put the treasures on someone else. Everyone was more willing to accept Lu Mubai's suggestion. Lu Qing and Lu Sheng didn't have any objections. They took out a jade slip and started inscribing. The two of them had seen this formation being opened twice. Although they didn't understand the profoundness behind it, they clearly remembered how to activate it. Not long after, Lu Qing handed the jade slip to Tang Ao. Tang Ao's soul remembrance entered it and sought a changing formation pattern. This changing formation pattern was based on the hidden formation patterns on the surrounding walls. After changing it 9 times, it seemed that the formation pattern could be opened and the things hidden by the formation pattern could be seen. Little friend Tang Ao, can you open this formation pattern? Lu Sanyuan saw that Tang Ao was staring at the formation pattern jade slip for a while and couldn't help but ask anxiously. Tang Ao hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. I don't know, I'll try. After speaking, Tang Ao walked to the center of the hall. He immediately recalled the changes of the formation pattern in the jade slip and began to rotate the surrounding formation patterns. Under the heavenly polar eyes, these formation patterns seemed to be embedded in the walls. However, under the pushing of Tang Ao's soul remembrance, these formation patterns also began to slowly revolve. Although these patterns could be pushed by soul remembrance, it consumed a lot of soul remembrance. Even with the strength of Tang Ao's soul remembrance, he could only push these patterns into the first form before Tang Ao's soul remembrance was completely used up. Chu Shuahan saw that Tang Ao's aura was a little weak, so she took out 2 pills and handed them to Tang Ao. If you don't believe me, then don't force yourself. We don't know if there's anything hidden under the runes. Tang Ao smiled at Chu Shuahan and did not speak. He continued to meditate. Tang Ao knew that Chu Shuahan meant well, but Tang Ao could only say that Chu Shuahan's thinking was too simple. If he hadn't mentioned the hidden array pattern just now, it would have been fine, but now that he had revealed the hidden array pattern and the Liu brothers had seen this kind of array pattern, no one would believe that there was nothing hidden under the array pattern. After his soul remembrance recovered, Tang Ao continued to rotate the array pattern. This process was extremely long. Wang Mang could not wait any longer and went to other places in the palace. However, the other places had already been searched by Liu Sanyuan. After going to 5 or 6 places without any results, Wang Mang could only return to the hall and wait for Tang Ao to break the array pattern. Chapter 1152. After seeing the 7-star formation altar, Tang Ao and the others were all shocked. Liu Sanyuan had called everyone here to crack the 7-star formation altar. However, according to Liu Sanyuan, the 7-star formation altar was still behind. Why did the 7-star formation altar appear here again? Even Liu Sanyuan was shocked. He had seen the 7-star formation altar at the back with his own eyes, but why was there another 7-star formation altar here? After observing for a moment, Liu Sanyuan's expression changed greatly. I understand now. Although the 7-star formation altar at the back looks the same as this one, it is definitely a trap. The real 7-star formation altar is hidden here. If it wasn't for Tang Ao's extreme heavenly pupils that saw through the hidden formation patterns, we would have been doomed. Liu Sanyuan did not flatter Tang Ao, but spoke his true thoughts. Liu Sanyuan had already explored this ruined palace for 3 days. Therefore, Liu Sanyuan naturally knew how powerful the traps in this palace were. Liu Sanyuan was not exaggerating. The 7-star formation altar was the deepest thing in this palace. It was very likely to be the most powerful trap in the palace. During these 3 days, Liu Sanyuan had almost lost his life twice while searching for treasures. Therefore, the traps in the deepest part of the palace naturally could not be underestimated. Master Liu, since this is the 7-star formation altar you mentioned, how do we crack it? Asked Lu Mubai after seeing the 7-star formation altar. This stone tablet has a corresponding incantation. Each of you stand in the corresponding position and use your spiritual power to circulate your spiritual power into the stone pillar according to the incantation. Liu Sanyuan said, taking out a square stone tablet from his storage ring and suspending it in the middle of everyone. This stone tablet was very ancient and had an ancient aura circulating around it. Tang Ao probed the stone tablet with his soul remembrance and found the corresponding incantation at each position. After memorizing the incantation of his location, Tang Ao took out a space jade talisman. In Xitigarbha Cemetery, Tang Ao was not willing to use the space jade talisman unless it was absolutely necessary. This was because the space within the Xitigarbha Cemetery was very special. After using the space jade talisman, it was very likely that one would be teleported out of the Xitigarbha Cemetery. But now was not the time for Tang Ao to think too much. Once the 7 stars altar was opened, Liu Sanyuan would most likely attack him and Chu Xuahan. Facing an expert like Liu Sanyuan in the underground palace, Tang Ao had no way of dealing with him. Therefore, Tang Ao could only run. When Tang Ao was thinking about how to escape in case of an emergency, Lu Mubai also glanced at LV Chi without leaving a trace. After everyone memorized the incantation on the stone tablet, Liu Sanyuan put the stone tablet away and said indifferently, "Let's begin." After speaking, Liu Sanyuan took the lead in circulating spiritual power into the stone pillar on his body. As he poured in his spiritual power, the stone pillar beneath him began to emit a resplendent glow. Tang Ao and the others did the same. Tang Ao, in a moment, once the 7 stars altar is opened, we need to quickly escape. I feel that Liu Sanyuan has killing intent towards us. While Chu Xuahan was pouring spiritual power into the stone pillar, she transmitted to Tang Ao. I know. Once the 7 stars altar is opened, if the situation isn't right, we can use the space jade talisman to escape. Otherwise, even if I use the wind thunder dark cloud, the two of us most likely won't be able to escape. After receiving Tang Ao's transmission, Chu Xuehan nodded her head. Chapter 1153. The moment Tang Ao escaped, the Liu brothers were startled for a moment before they also prepared to rush towards one of the doors. However, Liu Qi felt dizzy the moment he took a step forward. By the time he regained his senses, the storage ring on his hand had already disappeared. Liu Qing, who was beside him, moved like lightning. With 2 fingers, he removed a silver needle from Liu Qi's neck. Soul, detaching needle. Lu Mubai, this trash. After Liu Qing shattered the silver needle in his hand, he vigilantly walked into the golden door that Lu Mubai had just entered through. With Liu Senyuan's expression was very ugly, as he did not leave Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan behind. At this time, Wang Meng naturally did not want to provoke Liu Sanyuan. Without thinking much, Wang Meng directly walked towards the golden door that no one had entered yet. In Wang Meng's opinion, Liu Sanyuan most likely would not chase after Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan. Now that he was walking through this door, he had a slight advantage. However, before Wang Meng entered the door, Liu Sanyuan coldly said, "Leave behind the thunder crystals on you. The thunder crystals on Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan will belong to you." Hearing Liu Sanyuan's threat, Wang Meng coldly snorted and was about to walk towards the golden door. Although Wang Meng did not want to fight with Liu Sanyuan, it was not because he was afraid of Liu Sanyuan. If Wang Meng was forced into a corner, it was still unknown who would emerge victorious. Whoosh! A loud sound rang out. Immediately after, Liu Sanyuan's 3 puppets flew towards Wang Meng. Wang Meng seemed to have expected that Liu Sanyuan would make a move. The moment Liu Sanyuan made his move, a golden jade talisman appeared in Wang Meng's hand. Wang Meng crushed the golden jade talisman, and a golden brilliance enveloped Wang Meng. Liu Sanyuan's attack was completely blocked by this golden brilliance. Wang Meng took this opportunity to fly towards the golden door that Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan had just entered. After letting Tang Ao and Wang Meng escape, Liu Sanyuan's expression was extremely ugly. At this moment, he actually gave up on the gate that no one had entered and chased after Wang Meng. Clearly, in Liu Sanyuan's eyes, the thunder crystals on Wang Meng, Tang Ao, and Chu Xuehan combined were much more tempting than the items behind the other golden door. However, Liu Sanyuan would never have imagined that after he barged through the golden door, 2 figures would slowly appear outside it. These 2 figures were Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan. Just now, Tang Ao wanted to bring Chu Xuehan directly through the golden door. However, the moment they entered the door, Tang Ao suddenly had an idea. Thus, Tang Ao took a risk and slapped an invisibility talisman on the 2 of them, then snatched it from outside the door. That really scared me to death. After escaping danger, Chu Xuehan couldn't help but roll her eyes at Tang Ao. Just now, she and Tang Ao had only used the invisibility talisman to hide outside the golden door. The people here were not ordinary people. If they were discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, what Chu Xuehan didn't expect was that the invisibility talisman, which was usually almost useless, would have a miraculous effect at this moment. Let's go. Tang Ao didn't have the same feeling as Chu Xuehan. As the saying goes, seeking riches comes with danger. Tang Ao had done this kind of dangerous thing many times, so at this moment, he didn't have any special feelings. After Tang Ao said to leave, Chu Xuehan walked towards the golden door that no one had entered. However, Tang Ao pulled her back. They weren't going there. Chu Xuehan was a little confused. Didn't Tang Ao take such a big risk just to enter the golden door that no one had chosen? But now, Tang Ao said that they weren't going there. Chapter 1154. Not long after, Tang Ao carefully brought Chu Xuehan back to the previous passage. After arriving here, Chu Xuehan was very puzzled. Originally, Chu Xuehan thought that Tang Ao was taking her somewhere. She didn't expect that after going around in circles, Tang Ao would actually bring her here. However, Tang Ao didn't let Chu Shuahan be puzzled for too long. Chu Shuahan's puzzlement turned into shock. This was because she saw that Tang Ao actually took out 10 explosion talismans. Tang Ao's explosion talismans were extremely powerful. Just one was enough to injure a body refinement martial artist like Wang Mang. Using 10 at once, Chu Shuahan felt that Tang Ao was going to blow up the entire palace. "You wouldn't be thinking of blowing up this place, right?" Chu Shuahan said with some uncertainty. Tang Ao's face darkened. He only felt that Chu Shuahan's idea was too fresh and refined. Behind this wall is a hidden room. There are nearly 1,000 thunder crystals piled up in the dark room. The thunder crystals that we took from the wall not long ago were actually the foundation of an immortal grade 1 lightning guiding array. Just now, Lu Sanyuan and the others were present, so it wasn't convenient for Tang Ao to say it. But now that it was just him and Chu Shuahan, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't continue to hide it from Chu Shuahan. After hearing that this was an immortal grade 1 lightning guiding array, Chu Shuahan was frightened by Tang Ao. If it wasn't for the serious expression on Tang Ao's face, Chu Shuahan would have thought that Tang Ao was deliberately teasing her. "So, when we dug out the thunder crystals from the wall, wasn't it very dangerous?" After knowing that this was a lightning guiding array, Chu Shuahan said with lingering fear. Tang Ao nodded his head in agreement. But immediately after, Tang Ao said, "Wasn't very dangerous. There are signs when the lightning guiding array is activated. Before the lightning guiding array was activated, I would have already carried you and ran." "Hey, who wants you to carry me?" Chu Shuahan's charming face turned red. Since young, she had never had such intimate contact with a male cultivator. She didn't even have the experience of being alone with other male martial artists for such a long time. If not for the little fox running around in the Xitigarbis cemetery, she would still be with Ji Feiqian and a few other senior brothers and sisters. The northern region of the Xitigarbis cemetery was covered in ice and snow, stretching as far as the eye could see. At this moment, Ji Feiqian no longer had the passion he had when he first entered the Xitigarbis cemetery. He had been in love with Chu Shuahan for a long time. On this trip to the Xitigarbis cemetery, he encountered a peak class 6 shadow beast. If a normal person encountered such a shadow beast, they would definitely complain incessantly. However, Ji Feiqian was overjoyed. A peak rank 6 shadow beast cultivation was equivalent to a peak level 1 life and death rel warrior. However, because of its special body, its battle power was not much weaker than a life and death realm warrior's. This kind of shadow beast would allow him to perform well in front of his junior sister. However, Ji Feiqian never expected that the peak of the 6th order shadow beast would scare Chu Shuahan's little fox so badly that it started running wildly on the snowy plains. In the end, Chu Shuahan didn't even get to see Ji Feiqian's heroic performance before she chased after the little fox. By the time Chu Shuahan caught up with the little fox, she realized that she couldn't find her way back. It was also at this moment that Chu Shuahan met Tang Ao. Chu Shuahan and Tang Ao had been traveling together ever since. However, Ji Feiqian didn't know about this. At this moment, he was still deeply blaming himself. His master had told him to take good care of his junior sister after entering the Xitigarbis cemetery. In the end, he lost Chu Shuahan the moment he entered the Xitigarbis cemetery. Chapter 1155. This dark room was obviously protected by a restriction array. The earth-shattering explosion just now did not damage this dark room at all. Tang Ao walked into the dark room and saw a blue barrier surrounding the dark room. However, through this barrier, Chu Shuahan and Tang Ao could already see the small mountain of thunder crystals in the dark room. Thinking about how Lu Mubai and Lu Sanyuan used all sorts of means to get more than 10 thunder crystals, Chu Shuahan knew that if Lu Sanyuan and Lu Mubai saw the thunder crystals here, they would probably be possessed. "Why are you standing there like a fool? Hurry up and pick up the thunder crystals." While Chu Shuahan was thinking, Tang Ao had already used an array to break the crumbling barrier. This barrier looked very powerful, but Tang Ao, who had the sky polar eyes, could naturally see that this relic was only a golden jade on the outside, but it was rotten inside. Because of the long time, this barrier had almost lost its effectiveness. In addition to the 10 explosion talismans just now, it was already at the point of exhaustion. The two of them were quick and collected all the thunder crystals in a short while. After putting away the thunder crystals, Tang Ao used the sky polar eyes to scan the surroundings again. However, there was really nothing this time. Tang Ao carefully looked around and did not find anything. Other than the array core found in the middle of the passage, there was nothing else in this passage. This array core was also a good thing and should not be wasted. Tang Ao thought to himself as he walked to the middle of the passage and dug out an 8-sided array core buried underground. "Where are we going now?" Chu Shuahan asked after Tang Ao took out the array core. "I feel that there is something wrong with that 7-star array altar. Let's go to the depths of the underground palace to take a look at the 7-star array altar before making a decision." Although Lu Sanyuan said that the 7-star array altar in the depths of the underground palace was fake, Tang Ao vaguely felt that the 7-star array altar might be the real one. Although the 7-star formation altar was hidden, Tang Ao could still vaguely see that the grade of the 7-star formation altar was the same as the lightning guiding formation here. This was only a passageway of the underground palace, yet there was such a formation here. As the core formation of the underground palace, the 7-star formation altar, it was of the same grade as this formation. No matter how one tried to explain it, it did not make sense. After telling Chu Shuahan his thoughts, Tang Ao brought Chu Shuahan deeper into the underground palace. Soon, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan arrived at the 7-star array altar where Lu Sanyuan and the others had just entered. Although there were traces of the battle, there was no one around. The two of them didn't stay here for long and continued forward. Along the way, Tang Ao's soul remembrance enveloped the surroundings, and his heavenly extreme pupils scanned the surroundings. However, Tang Ao saw that several of the secret rooms had been destroyed by brute force. The rooms were also empty. It was obvious that Lu Sanyuan, who had arrived first, had already devoured everything in these rooms. After walking for a while, Tang Ao signaled for Chu Shuahan to stop. In front of the two of them was an empty space. Looking at it with the naked eye, there was nothing on the ground. However, with the heavenly extreme pupils detection, Tang Ao could clearly see a huge array pattern hidden under the ground. This array pattern was incomparably complicated. Compared to the lightning guiding formation that Tang Ao had encountered at the beginning and the 7-star array altar that he had seen later, it was of a much higher grade. Chapter 1156. After observing for a long time, Tang Ao said solemnly, "The array here is a top-notch first-grade immortal array, the falling soul array. If it wasn't for the fact that it's no longer working, we wouldn't have survived if we barged into it." After knowing Tang Ao for so long, this was the first time Chu Shuahan saw such a serious expression on Tang Ao's face. She immediately put up her guard. Chu Shuahan had heard that Xitigarbis Cemetery had existed longer than the Winter Plains. More than 70% of the top-notch treasures in the Winter Plains came from Xitigarbis Cemetery. However, Xitigarbis Cemetery was also the most dangerous of all the ruins and mystic realms in the Winter Plains. Every time the Xitigarbis Cemetery opened, countless cultivators would rack their brains to enter the Xitigarbis Cemetery. However, only 30% of the cultivators that entered the Xitigarbis Cemetery would leave alive. There were even a few times when none of the cultivators that entered could leave the cemetery alive. It wasn't hard to see how dangerous Xitigarbis Cemetery was. This time, she and Tang Ao were lucky. Although they had mistakenly entered a killing array, it had lost its effectiveness due to the passage of time. However, Chu Shuahan also knew that some arrays couldn't withstand the ravages of time, but there were also arrays that had no effect on time, just like the array that Lu Sanyuan and the rest had entered not long ago. "It's so dangerous here. Why don't we retreat?" Chu Shuahan hesitated for a while before asking Tang Ao. There were countless treasures in Xidagarba's cemetery. If it wasn't for the fact that they had no other choice, they wouldn't have to explore the dangerous places. The cave abode that they were currently in was clearly such a dangerous place. It's indeed dangerous here. However, as long as we're careful, there won't be too much of a problem. Follow behind me. We'll go in and take a look. Although this dilapidated palace was extremely dilapidated, it was still very large. At this moment, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan had walked for a long time, but they were only at the periphery of the palace. As Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan ventured deeper, murals gradually appeared on the walls on both sides of the palace. There were many strange scenes and some demon beasts that Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan didn't recognize. Moreover, Tang Ao discovered that the palace's exterior was very dilapidated, but the interior of the palace was gradually getting better. Unlike the broken walls and broken eaves that Tang Ao had seen at the beginning, the walls and pillars here only had some cracks. Some of the walls were even as good as new, without the slightest trace of time. Seeing this, Tang Ao signaled Chu Shuahan to stop. Although such a scene was rare, Tang Ao was still able to recognize it. This was because this area was protected by a top-grade defensive array. Since this place was protected by a top-notch defense array, even if there were any traps here, they would still be intact. Just as Tang Ao was preparing to carefully examine the defensive array, Tang Ao's soul remembrance suddenly swept over 4 figures outside the ruins. Tang Ao recognized 2 of them. One of them was Song Chung, who had escaped not long ago. At this moment, Song Chung was in a very sorry state. His aura was chaotic, and his body was covered in blood. As for the silver-haired youth in front of Song Chung, Tang Ao also recognized him. It was Lei Ming, who he had a dispute with at the Cloudfoot auction. Behind Lei Ming were experts. Although he had only used his soul remembrance to sweep over them, Tang Ao was sure that these 2 people's strength wasn't inferior to Lu Sunyuan's. After seeing Lei Ming and the others, Tang Ao inwardly guessed that Lei Ming and the others had most likely come to find him. Moreover, their goal was to find him for the Heavenly Star Art. Chapter 1157. Second Young Master. There is indeed a ruin here. I wonder if Tang Ao and the rest are inside. Mr. Yuta frowned as he looked at the ruins. Lei Ming looked at Song Chung with an unfriendly expression. Song Chung was startled and hurried to say, Lu Sanyuan said that there was a 7-star formation altar here, and I ran away after 7 people. But I'm sure that Tang Ao is in there. What makes you think that Tang Ao is in there? Song Chung was his brother's spy, and Lei Ming would not be polite to him. Plus, Tang Ao had the cosmic spell, which was a big deal. Lei Ming had to be careful. The martial art that the Lightning Temple trained was called the 5 Thunder Spell. Just like the rumors said, it was a terrifyingly high-level martial art. Although the grade of this cultivation technique was heaven-defying, it had a fatal flaw, and that was that this cultivation technique was incomplete. The previous leaders of the Lightning Temple had already discovered the incomplete version of the 5 Thunder Spell. Ever since then, the Lightning Temple had been searching for the second half of the spell. But after so many years, the Lightning Temple had found thousands of martial arts that were suspected to be the second half of the spell. But each time they had failed. Therefore, when a martial art that was suspected to be the second half of the spell appeared, although Lei Ming still had hope, it was not very high. But what Lei Ming did not expect was that the cosmic spell that Tang Ao had was actually the second half of the 5 Thunder Spell. There is only one leader of the Lightning Temple, and he was the son of the current leader. Lei Lingyun was only a bastard. However, Lei Lingyun's cultivation was too powerful, and it gave Lei Ming a lot of pressure. However, this Heavenly Star Art was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Lei Ming. The limit of the 5 Thunder Spell could only be trained to the peak of Life and Death Realm Level 9. This was the consensus of the previous leaders of the Lightning Temple. As long as he got his hands on the cosmic spell, he would have the chance to reach the Astral Reaching Realm. What's wrong? Chu Shuahan couldn't help but asked when she saw Tang Ao's troubled expression. Lei Ming is here, and he brought 2 helpers with him. Their cultivation is very strong, and they are comparable to Lu Sanyuan. Tang Ao did not hide anything from Chu Xuehan. He had a grudge with Lei Ming, but Chu Xuehan had nothing to do with Lei Ming. It was selfish of him to drag Chu Xuehan into this. Then what should we do? Chu Xuehan was a little anxious. It was hard for her and Tang Ao to deal with Lu Sanyuan alone. Moreover, Lei Ming had brought 2 powerful warriors who were comparable to Lu Sanyuan. At this moment, even though Chu Xuehan was worried, she did not have any thoughts of escaping. If Tang Ao did not want to leave, she would fight with Tang Ao until the end. I have a grudge with Lei Ming, and the cosmic spell Lei Ming wants is also in my hands. You wait for me here, I will go out and lead them away. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao said in a low voice. This decision was a bit risky, but if he wanted to continue exploring the ruins, he could not afford a fight with Lei Ming and the rest in the cave. And the reason why Tang Ao came up with this idea was also because of the speed of the wind thunder dark cloud. Right now, although Tang Ao's cultivation was not high, under Tang Ao's full power, the wind thunder dark cloud speed was still very shocking. Although Lei Ming and the other 2 were all powerful warriors, Tang Ao was sure that they would not be able to catch him. However, Tang Ao was worried that if they could not catch him, they would return to the ruins and make things difficult for Chu Xuehan. Chapter 1158. After listening to Chu Xuehan's plan, Tang Ao was speechless. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao shook his head. Chu Xuehan's plan was a bit better than his, but it wasn't very feasible. Whatever, let's continue exploring. I keep feeling that this ruin isn't so simple. In this ruin, I have the advantage of arrays and heavenly polar pupils. It won't be easy for Lei Ming to catch us. After deciding, Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan continued forward. Lei Ming's group of 4 also entered the ruin cave. Although their cultivations were much higher than Tang Ao's, their soul remembrance couldn't find Tang Ao. When they reached the tunnel where Tang Ao and the others dug up the thunder crystal rock, Lei Ming stopped in surprise. Such dense thunder spirit energy. Is there a treasure here that contains thunder spirit energy? Lei Ming looked around suspiciously. Cultivating the 5 thunder technique, he was naturally more sensitive to thunder spirit energy than others. After Lei Ming's soul remembrance swept around, he looked at the secret room that Tang Ao had just blown up. The thunder crystal rocks in the secret room had all been swept away by Tang Ao, but Lei Ming could still determine from the remaining thunder spirit energy that a large amount of thunder-type top-tier treasures had been piled up here not long ago. Young master, this is... Mr. Yu picked up a fingernail-sized crystal shard from the corner and asked. The instant Lei Ming saw this crystal shard, his eyes went wide. This is a top-tier thunder-type treasure. Thunder crystal rock. Good fortune, good fortune. This kind of treasure is rare, even in the Gathering Treasure Tower, but there are so many here. Thunder crystal rock. This time it was Song Chung who spoke, but right now Song Chung seemed a bit off. His tone had changed, and his aura was a bit strange. Mr. Yu slightly creased his brows and immediately cried out, Soul assimilating technique. Ha ha, Mr. Yu truly lives up to his name, instantly seeing through my soul assimilating technique. Second brother, are Tang Ao and Lei Jingshi both here? It must have been hard on you. Big brother, Song Chung was unable to continue, as his neck had already been broken by Mr. Yuda. Clearly, Lei Lingyun had planted a soul-manipulating technique on Song Chung to monitor this place at all times. Now, that Lei Lingyun knows that there are thunder crystals here and that Tang Ao is here, he will definitely rush over here. Yu Er's face was gloomy. Although he and Yuda had some tricks up their sleeves, they did not want to face Lei Lingyun unless they had no other choice. However, they did not expect that they would fall into Song Cheng's hands. At this moment, Tang Ao and Chu Xuehan had already entered deep into the cave dwelling. Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan were completely unaware of what had happened at the entrance of the cave dwelling. Although the two of them had been very careful along the way, they still encountered some trouble. In front of Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan, there were 9 passageways. However, at the entrance of each passageway, there was a shadow beast blocking them. If Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan did not move forward, these shadow beasts would not attack them. However, once the two of them moved forward, the shadow beasts would let out a low roar. These shadow beasts were all at the first level of the life and death realm. To Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan, they were not a big threat. What truly troubled Tang Ao was which of the 9 passageways to take. Xiao Bai, can you feel anything? Just now, when the situation was dangerous, Chu Shuahan had placed the little fox into the spirit beast bag. Now that it was slightly safer, Chu Shuahan also released the little fox. As soon as the little fox came out, it intimately rubbed Chu Shuahan's snow-white face and looked at Tang Ao proudly. Chapter 1159. After being reprimanded by Chu Shuahan, the little fox's ears drooped and its little mouth pouted, looking as wronged as it could be. Fortunately, Chu Shuahan had interacted with this little fox for more than a day or two, so she naturally knew this little fellow's little tricks. But Tang Ao did not know, so Tang Ao naturally fell for it. Tang Ao took out a spirit beast pill from his storage ring and handed it to the little fox. After seeing the spirit beast pill, the little fox immediately changed its dispirited and listless state and grabbed the spirit beast pill in Tang Ao's hand. The little fox's sudden change did not surprise Tang Ao. Instead, the corner of Tang Ao's mouth curved. As expected, the little fox immediately jumped up after eating the spirit beast pill and spat it out. After that, he jumped into Chu Shuahan's embrace with an aggrieved expression. It looked at Chu Shuahan with its big watery eyes and pointed at Tang Ao with its little paw, making a hit gesture. Chu Shuahan smiled. You want me to hit Tang Ao? The little fox immediately nodded its head like a chicken pecking at rice. Why? Chu Shuahan did not understand. This little fox was just acting cute to cheat a spirit beast pill from Tang Ao. Why do I want to hit Tang Ao now? Moreover, as a Tier 6 pill master, Chu Shuahan could obviously tell that it was a spirit beast pill. That's not right. Chu Shuahan glanced at the half of the pill that the little fox spat out and immediately understood. The pill that Tang Ao gave to the little fox was indeed a spirit beast pill, but it was not the formula that Tang Ao used. In this pill, there was obviously 10 times the amount of bitter gold thread added. Only a pill with this kind of dark yellow luster would have this kind of pill pattern. Chu Shuahan stuck out her tongue. 10 times the bitter gold thread. Chu Shuahan found it hard to imagine how bitter this pill was. Thinking of this, Chu Shuahan rolled her eyes at Tang Ao and then patted the little fox on the back comfortingly. But when the little fox saw that its master only rolled her eyes at Tang Ao and didn't do anything else, it wriggled around in Chu Shuahan's arms sadly. It seemed that if Chu Shuahan did not teach Tang Ao a lesson, it would not be able to vent the hatred in her heart. All right. Let's see if there are any treasures behind that tunnel. When I find the treasure, I will refine a spirit beast pill for you to eat. Chu Shuahan naturally wouldn't mess around with Tang Ao like the little fox, so she could only caress the little fox's head like she was coaxing a child. After hearing Chu Shuahan's promise, the little fox unwillingly jumped onto the ground and sniffed at every passage. Tang Ao knew that this little fox's true form was a seeking spirit fox, and it had a special sense towards heaven and earth treasures. Therefore, it was the best choice to let the little fox decide which path to take. After sniffing all the passages, the little fox raised its little paw and pointed at the leftmost passage, its little tail wagging. When Chu Shuahan saw its behavior, she immediately said in a bad mood, I asked you to find out which passage has treasures, not which passage has delicious food. Seeing that Chu Shuahan was a little angry, the little fox didn't dare to mess around. After thinking for a while, it raised its little paw and pointed at the second passage on the left. You're not lying to me, right? Chu Shuahan asked the little fox in disbelief. The little fox shook its head hurriedly. Chapter 1160. After the shadow beast was trapped by Tang Ao's trapping array, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan easily passed through this passage. Not long after Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan left, the battered and exhausted Lu Sanyuan walked over from behind. The array that Lu Sanyuan had just entered wasn't a 7-star array altar. It was clearly a top-tier illusion array. Fortunately, Lu Sanyuan was proficient in arrays and reacted in time. Thus, Lu Sanyuan was able to walk out of the array. As for the others, although Lu Sanyuan didn't know the specific situation, Lu Sanyuan knew that they were most likely still in the trapping array. After arriving here, Lu Sanyuan was stunned when he saw the 9 passages in front of him. The last time he came here, there weren't 9 passages like this. However, before Lu Sanyuan could think any further, Mr. Yuda's voice came from behind Lu Sanyuan. "Master Lu, long time no see. I trust you've been well." Lu Sanyuan swept with his soul remembrance and saw Lei Ming and the other 2 not far away. Mr. Yuda's strength was similar to his, and with Mr. Yu's second and Lei Ming there, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape from these 3. Thus, Lu Sanyuan's thoughts quickly spun. After glancing at the passage in front of him, Lu Sanyuan immediately went towards the passage that Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan had passed through. This was because at the entrance of this passage, Lu Sanyuan saw clear traces of an array. Moreover, this array's grade wasn't low. Among the people who entered the cave ruins this time, only the Lu family brothers and Tang Ao could do it. Whether it was the Lu family brothers or Tang Ao, they all had many thunder crystal rocks on them. Thus, even if there was nothing in this passage, there were still many thunder crystal rocks. Lu Sanyuan immediately took a step forward and erased the traces left behind by Tang Ao's formation. At the same time, his figure flashed and turned into a wisp of black smoke, slipping into the passageway right under the eyes of the shadow beast. The shadow beast at the gate let out a burst of low agility, but it was helpless against Lu Sanyuan's strange movement technique. As soon as Lu Sanyuan ran into the tunnel that Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan had entered, Lei Ming and the other 2 chased after him. In this group of people, Lu Sanyuan has the highest cultivation, and Lu Sanyuan has a kind face but a black heart. Tang Ao and the others have most likely died in his hands. Mr. Yu said with a frown. No, Tang Ao is very cunning. Even Inu from Black Crow Market couldn't catch him last time. Lei Ming said after a moment's thought. Although Lei Ming was an out-and-out spoiled brat, that was all an act. Without a few tricks up his sleeve, how would he have the ability to win over top experts like Mr. Yu and the other 2? And how would he have the guts to compete with Lei Lingyun for the position of Lightning Hall Master? This was a Crimson Land, and there were many broken totem fragments and beautiful white bones on the ground. This seemed to be an ancient battlefield that had existed for a long time. When Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan walked out of the passageway, they arrived at this strange place. After arriving, Chu Shuahan looked angrily at the little fox. "This is where the treasure is?" The little fox didn't seem to notice Chu Shuahan's anger and nodded its head like a chick pecking at rice. After getting the little fox's confirmation, Chu Shuahan was even more confused. Under Chu Shuahan's soul remembrance, this place was very sinister. Other than some broken totem fragments, there were only piles of beautiful white bones. Chu Shuahan really couldn't think of any treasure in this place. Chapter 1161. Really? Chu Shuahan asked doubtfully. If this was any other place, Chu Shuahan's psyche would be able to penetrate hundreds of feet underground. However, here, Chu Shuahan realized that her psyche could only scan up to 10 feet underground. Beyond 10 feet, her psyche could not detect anything. Tang Ao had also noticed this problem. The soil here was different from other places, as if it contained a special power. This power was similar to a barrier, but Tang Ao was sure that it was not one. It was just that Tang Ao could not tell what it was. Compared to Chu Shuahan, Tang Ao's soul remembrance could scout further. When he used his full strength, Tang Ao's soul remembrance could scout a 10-meter radius. Heavenly Polar Pupil was even more impressive. After activating it, Tang Ao could scan up to 10 feet underground. Bang! After discovering the Soul Jade underground, Tang Ao took out a spear and smashed it into the ground. However, the ground was surprisingly hard. Tang Ao's spear actually scraped the ground and created a string of sparks. Tang Ao's arm was numb from the impact. This ground is so hard. Tang Ao looked at the scarlet ground and clicked his tongue in wonder. The spear in Tang Ao's hand was forged from well-tempered steel. However, such a spear could not break through the soil here. At this thought, a glint flashed across Tang Ao's mind. At the same time, Tang Ao recalled a rare, immortal material from the material section of Yun Xiaoyao's weapon forging overarching principles. This material was called stellar clay. It was a type of black-gray soil. Stellar clay was an immortal Grade 2 material that could be used to forge god weapons. However, because the stellar clay was black-gray while the soil here was crimson, Tang Ao did not think of it. After careful comparison, Tang Ao realized that other than the color, the other characteristics of the crimson soil were exactly the same as the stellar clay. Could it be? Tang Ao thought of a frightening possibility. Could it be what? Chu Shuhan looked at Tang Ao with her big eyes full of doubt. I understand now. The little fox's choice is not wrong. The soil and the soul jade in the soil are all treasures. This soil is the second-grade immortal material, heavenly astral mud, and the reason the heavenly astral mud here has become like this is most likely because too many martial artists died here during a great battle in the past, and their blood dyed this land red. At this point, Tang Ao paused for a moment. Moreover, these cultivators' cultivation is clearly not weak. Even after falling for so long, their resentment still lingers. Their resentment went deep underground, obstructing the soul remembrance probing of martial artists. Furthermore, this resentment did not disperse. After it completely lost its consciousness, it formed a soul jade underground. After Tang Ao voiced out his conjecture, Chu Shuhan felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. However, on second thought, it seemed to be a very reasonable explanation. Be careful! Just as Chu Shuhan was thinking about this, Tang Ao suddenly hugged her. Tang Ao hugged Chu Shuhan and flew into the air, his speed incomparably fast. However, even though Tang Ao reacted quickly, Chu Shuhan's snow-white shoulder was still brushed by a bone spike, drawing a bright red line of blood. A smear of black corpse poison immediately tried to burrow into Chu Shuhan's body, but it was burned to ashes by a golden flame in Chu Shuhan's body. This golden flame suddenly appeared, but it quickly disappeared. If it wasn't for the fact that Tang Ao was hugging Chu Shuhan, Tang Ao wouldn't have been able to see this golden flame. However, when the golden flame appeared, Tang Ao felt a very powerful pressure from it. This pressure was something that Tang Ao had never felt from Ming Di and the other great Emperor rank experts. Chapter 1162. Are you okay? Tang Ao asked with concern. Tang Ao was a bit curious about the golden flame that Chu Shuhan had just summoned, but Tang Ao was obviously more concerned about Chu Shuhan's injuries. Chu Shuhan shook her head slightly. I'm fine, but what is this thing? Chu Shuhan looked at the thing that had attacked her and was a bit scared. In front of Tang Ao and Chu Shuhan was a skeleton wearing armor. From the powerful aura that was leaking out of its body, Tang Ao and Chu Shuhan could tell that this armored skeleton was definitely a top warrior when it was alive. However, at this moment, its body had already decayed, leaving only its bones in the armor. Tang Ao was not sure if this armored skeleton still had consciousness, but Tang Ao still said to the skeleton, Senior, this junior accidentally entered this place. I would like to ask Senior, what is this place and what happened here? Of course, Tang Ao did not accidentally enter this place. Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan were originally here to find treasures, but Tang Ao did not dare to say that. However, this armored skeleton seemed to have lost its consciousness. After Tang Ao asked the question, it only raised its empty eyes to look at Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan, who were flying in the air. Then, it let out a sky-shaking roar and flew toward Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan. Facing the armored skeleton's attack, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan did not dare to be careless. The two instantly backed off, increasing the distance between them and the armored skeleton. Tang Ao did not know what kind of cultivation this armored skeleton had when it was alive, but Tang Ao knew that the aura of this armored skeleton was no weaker than a third-level life and death realm warrior. Tang Ao was only at the fourth level of the Sea of Souls realm, and Chu Shuahan was only at the first level of the life and death realm. Even with the two of them together, they would not be able to win against this armored skeleton. If it were a normal warrior, they could still think of a way to kill it. However, the armored skeleton was already dead. How could it be killed? If it was somewhere else, Tang Ao could still rely on the speed of the wind thunder dark cloud to escape with Chu Shuahan. However, this ancient battlefield was filled with mysteries. Although the armored skeleton in front of them wasn't easy to deal with, it wasn't to the extent of making them despair. Tang Ao was worried that he and Chu Shuahan would run around in the ancient battlefield and attract something terrible. That would be truly troublesome. Let me test his abilities first. Since he did not intend to escape, he could only take down this armored skeleton. A golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body, and golden runes started to jump around Tang Ao. These golden runes revolved rapidly around Tang Ao. Soon, they formed a golden armor on Tang Ao's body. This golden armor looked as thin as a cicada's wing, but it was extremely tough. This armor was not a spirit artifact, but Tang Ao's Battle Sage Bone Life Soul. After summoning the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul, Tang Ao suddenly launched an attack at the armored skeleton. A strong wind whistled and spirit force erupted. A huge spirit force fist flew out from Tang Ao's hand and landed on the armored skeleton's body. However, this punch clearly had no effect on the armored skeleton. After taking Tang Ao's punch, the armored skeleton only paused in the air before it pounced at Tang Ao again. Tang Ao discovered that the armored skeleton had a strange weapon in its hand. This weapon looked like a knife, but it didn't have a tip. Not only did it not have a tip, but it didn't even have a blade. However, the bone spikes that lined up perfectly replaced the roll of the blade. Tang Ao had no doubt that being slashed by such a strange bone knife was definitely fatal. Chapter 1163. At this moment, the body of the 100 Battle Spear Soul in Tang Ao's hand shone with a silvery white luster, with faint flashes of lightning. Although the 100 Battle Spear Soul had only reached the strength of the 25th celestial layer, it was more than enough to deal with this unintelligent armored skeleton. Moreover, now that Tang Ao's cultivation was limited, the 100 Battle Spear Soul could not even exert the strength of the 25th celestial layer in Tang Ao's hands. Thinking of this, Tang Ao was quite depressed. The fundamental purpose of Tang Ao entering the Xitigarbis Cemetery was to find the spiritual ice fruit forest in the Xitigarbis Cemetery to restore his cultivation. However, Tang Ao had entered the Xitigarbis Cemetery for so long, but Tang Ao still had no clue about the spiritual ice fruit forest. The area of the Xitigarbis Cemetery was much larger than Tang Ao had imagined. So much so that Tang Ao was a little puzzled. Who divided the area of the Xitigarbis Cemetery, and how did they divide it? Ding! Tang Ao's arm shook, and the 100 Battle Spear Soul flashed out like a poisonous snake. It was a cold light that arrived first, followed by the spear like a dragon. This attack was unexpected, brilliant, and swift. It was a simple move, but it fully displayed Tang Ao's battle experience. If Tang Ao's opponent was an ordinary martial artist, the outcome of the battle would have been decided with this one move. However, at this moment, Tang Ao was facing a skeleton that had been dead for an unknown period of time. Therefore, Tang Ao's 100 battle spear's soul pierced through the armored skeleton's heart like a rag. The moment the spear pierced through the skeleton's heart, Tang Ao was quite surprised, because the skeleton's heart was actually empty, not even a bone. Obviously, this skeleton's heart was also hit by a blow when it was alive, and even the bones around the heart were shattered. Tang Ao found it hard to imagine what kind of earth-shattering battle broke out in this place many years ago. Was the reason for these people fighting for the heavenly gang mud here? Or was there another reason? The armored skeleton, suddenly issued a strange laughter. Then 2 wisps of dark green soul flames ignited in its hollow eyes. Then, under the astonished gazes of Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan, the armored skeleton stabbed the strange bone knife in its hand into its abdomen. Although this scene was very strange, Tang Ao still came back to his senses immediately. Not good. Tang Ao tried to retreat, but it was too late. With the armored skeleton as the center, a blood-red formation instantly opened, enveloping Tang Ao. Fortunately, Chu Shuahan was far away. After Tang Ao's warning, Chu Shuahan instantly retreated from the area. Tang Ao. When Chu Shuahan saw that Tang Ao was enveloped by the blood-red array, she immediately rushed over to help. However, Tang Ao immediately stopped her. "Don't come over. Let's see what he's going to do first." Tang Ao's expression was very solemn. Tang Ao was very familiar with this formation. In Tang Ao's memory, there was only one person who could set up a formation like this, and that was Yun Xiaoyao, who had taught Tang Ao the art of formations. The armored skeleton in front of him was obviously not Yun Xiaoyao, but the person who set up this formation was most likely related to Yun Xiaoyao. After being enveloped by the blood-red formation, a messy formation diagram appeared in front of Tang Ao. There were 36 vein patterns on this formation diagram. At the moment, the vein patterns were gray and looked a little strange. Chapter 1164. As the patterns were gradually lit up by Tang Ao's blood, the formation began to change as well. When the changes stopped, Tang Ao recognized the formation. The Great Formation of Crimson Soul. Although the name sounded rather frightening, it was actually a type of formation that was passed down. However, this formation was a little special. Only the blood relatives of the formation's owner could receive the inheritance. Since Tang Ao and this armored skeleton were not related by blood, the formation was about to devour Tang Ao immediately. However, since this formation was from Yun Xiaoyao's lineage, as Yun Xiaoyao's direct disciple, Tang Ao naturally knew how to break it. Just as the formation was about to go berserk, Tang Ao suddenly pointed a finger. Tang Ao's finger emitted a cyan radiance as he pointed at a certain position on the array diagram. Then, a chi sound came from the formation, and the formation that was going berserk immediately quieted down. At the same time that Tang Ao deciphered the formation, the cold voice from before traveled into Tang Ao's ears once again. "Who are you? How did you know how to break this formation?" Although the voice was cold, Tang Ao could vaguely hear the surprise and agitation in its tone. This junior is Senior Yun Xiaoyao's disciple. Tang Ao felt that this person was most likely related to Yun Xiaoyao, which was why Tang Ao spoke without reservation. Before Tang Ao could finish, however, the voice retorted angrily, "You're lying. Master has been dead for many years, and he only took in 7 disciples like us when he was alive. How could you be Master's disciple?" Tang Ao immediately understood what was going on. This unlucky fellow who had his heart destroyed was actually his senior brother. It was just that this fellow had died too early, so he probably did not know about the Emperor Hades' mystic realm. After understanding his identity, Tang Ao immediately bowed to the armored skeleton and said, "Greetings, senior brother." After he finished speaking, Tang Ao did not wait for his confusion and continued to tell him about his training with Yun Xiaoyao in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. As he spoke, Tang Ao suddenly thought of something the token that Yun Xiaoyao had given him back then. Thinking of this, Tang Ao took out the token made of an unknown material from the hexagram mirror. The word Xiaoyao was written on the token in an ancient and bold style. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Seeing the token in Tang Ao's hand, the voice immediately said excitedly, "This is the Xiaoyao token." You were right. As soon as the voice fell, Tang Ao saw the armored skeleton in front of him disappear with the wind. At the same time, a transparent soul flew out. This soul was dressed like a young Confucian scholar. Although he was only a remnant of his soul, he still looked gentle and refined. With a wave of his hand, Gu Lingfeng kept the crimson soul formation and asked Tang Ao warmly, "Little junior brother, I am your seventh senior brother, Gu Lingfeng. How do I address you, junior brother?" Tang Ao greets senior brother Gu Lingfeng. How did you end up like this? Tang Ao felt that Gu Lingfeng was rather pitiful to have his heart destroyed in battle. After Tang Ao asked the question, Gu Lingfeng laughed bitterly. "Don't be sarcastic, junior brother. The armored puppet you saw just now was not transformed from a human warrior after he died. He was originally like that. After Master disappeared, Xiaoyao Palace was attacked by the Magnetite Dao Palace. The seven of us were no match for Magnetite Dao Lord and fled in all directions." Chapter 1165. Hearing Gu Lingfeng's words, Tang Ao was greatly shaken. As a peak level 9 astral reaching realm warrior in his previous life, Tang Ao naturally knew how difficult it was to break through the space barrier. Even if Tang Ao was at his peak, it would not be easy for him to tear the space barrier with his bare hands. However, this Gu Lingfeng was able to tear through the space barrier with his remnant soul transformation. How frightening was his strength! Not waiting for Tang Ao to be shocked, Gu Lingfeng continued. This armored skeleton had the cultivation of Yin-Yang Realm Level 7, which was the same as me at my peak. I had no choice but to use a secret technique to blow up his heart and hide the remnant soul inside his body. Setting up the Blood Soul Great Array was just a fluke, thinking that there might be disciples of Freedom Palace or my descendants coming here in the future. 10,000 years have passed, and my soul is about to scatter. I didn't expect that little junior brother would come. The affairs of the world are really hard to predict. Gu Lingfeng's tone was flat, but Tang Ao was so shocked that he was speechless. Being able to tear through the space barrier with his remnant soul transformation, then kill an armored skeleton with the same cultivation as him, even though his body and soul were damaged. At the same time, Tang Ao rejoiced inwardly. If it were not for Gu Lingfeng killing the armored skeleton in the end, he and Chu Xuan would not have run into a life and death realm armored skeleton. Even if they were facing an astral reaching expert, Tang Ao would still have a 1 in 10,000 chance to bring Chu Xuan into the 6 light mirror, or use the wind thunder dark cloud to escape. However, if they were facing an astral reaching expert, then even if Tang Ao had more tricks up his sleeves, he could only die with a grievance. "Senior brother, do you know what this place is? It seems to be an ancient battlefield." Gu Lingfeng had been here for 10,000 years. Tang Ao felt that Gu Lingfeng would most likely know some information. Hearing this question, a rare serious expression appeared on Gu Lingfeng's calm face. "Little junior brother, you might not believe me when I say this, because even I myself am not very sure. This place is indeed a battlefield, and there have been 2 battles. The first time was when 2 god kings fought over a supreme treasure called the Primal Chaos Hexlight Mirror." Tang Ao was startled in his heart. What was a divine king powerhouse? Tang Ao still had a certain understanding. In the black-yellow continent, astral reaching experts were the peak existences. However, the astral reaching realm was not the end of the martial arts. Above the astral reaching realm, there were still a couple of powerful realms. After the astral reaching realm was the Yin-Yang realm, which was also the realm Gu Lingfeng had been at before he died. After the Yin-Yang mirror, there was the Muddy Heaven mirror. The Shenong Emperor, Emperor Ming, Yun Xiaoyao, Empress Yulong, and several other Emperor-level experts were at this level. Above the Celestial Chaos Realm, there was the Tao Master Realm. It was rumored that the Tao Sovereign Realm was the end of the martial path. Ming Di's nemesis, the Magnetite Tao Sovereign, was an expert of this realm. However, Tang Ao had heard more than once that there was another realm above the Tao Master Realm called the Divine King Realm. It was just that during Emperor Hades' era, there were no God Kings left. Therefore, the existence of a Divine King Realm expert had always been a legend. Who would have thought that today you would once again hear the legends of God Kings? Moreover, the place where Tang Ao was standing right now was the place where two Divine King Realm experts had fought. How is it, junior brother? Don't you find it a bit inconceivable? Seeing Tang Ao's shocked expression, Gu Lingfeng asked casually. Chapter 1166. As far as I know, the two God King Realm experts had a great battle, and both of them perished. The shockwaves from their battle were so great that it attracted countless experts. After the two godly kings died, these warriors from all over fought for the relics left behind by the godly kings. Naturally, a battle of life and death broke out. As he spoke, Gu Lingfeng pointed at the stellar clay below and asked Tang Ao, "Do you know what kind of spiritual material the clay below is?" Tang Ao did not understand what Gu Lingfeng meant, but he answered anyway. "This is an immortal level second-grade material, the stellar clay. Do you know the characteristics of the stellar clay?" Gu Lingfeng was rather satisfied that Tang Ao could recognize the stellar clay. This was because the Big Dipper clay had undergone some changes and was no longer in its original form. It would be understandable if Tang Ao could not recognize the stellar clay, but as Yun Xiaoyao's disciple, it was rather disappointing. Fortunately, Tang Ao still recognized the stellar clay. The characteristics of the stellar clay? Tang Ao quickly recalled the description of the stellar clay and said, "The stellar clay is also known as the immaculate pure soil, untainted by even a speck of dust. It is..." Tang Ao did not continue. Because the stellar clay was untainted by dust, it would normally remain silvery gray no matter what happened. However, this stellar clay was crimson. I think you've thought of it as well. According to my understanding, the reason why the heavenly energy mud has become like this is because the blood of two god kings flowed into the mud when they fought. Their powerful power of laws caused the heavenly energy mud to become like this. Although the warriors who fought for the relics of the godly kings were powerful as well, some of them even reached the level of master. Their souls were sucked into the clay after they died. However, after these people perished, only their souls were absorbed into the heavenly dipper mud. Over time, the purest soul remembrance formed the soul jade. Gu Lingfeng's explanation was an eye-opener for Tang Ao. At the same time, Tang Ao felt that even if what Gu Lingfeng said was not entirely correct, it was about right. Senior brother Gu, since it's like that, then this ancient battlefield seems to be extremely dangerous. That's right. Junior brother's current cultivation base is too low. Before Gu Lingfeng could finish speaking, the space that Tang Ao and Gu Lingfeng were in suddenly shook. Due to the Grand Blood Soul Array, Tang Ao and Gu Lingfeng were currently inside a special blood-colored barrier, completely isolated from the outside world. The instant the barrier shook, Tang Ao and Gu Lingfeng's soul remembrance simultaneously swept outside the barrier. After seeing the scene outside the barrier, Tang Ao was quite startled. This was because Chu Xuahan had found a golden sledgehammer that was shining with runes from somewhere, and the little fox was currently using its full strength, swinging the golden sledgehammer to smash the blood-colored barrier. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Gu Lingfeng was stunned for a moment before he understood. With a wave of his hand, Gu Lingfeng withdrew the blood-colored barrier. After the blood-colored barrier disappeared, Chu Xuahan saw Tang Ao and Tang Ao facing Gu Lingfeng. Seeing Chu Xuahan's vigilant gaze, Tang Ao hastily introduced, "This is my seventh senior brother, Gu Lingfeng." After introducing Gu Lingfeng, to Chu Shuahan, Tang Ao said to Gu Lingfeng, seventh senior brother, "This is my friend Chu Shuahan." "Ha ha, you really are a perfect match." Gu Lingfeng looked at the two and felt that they were a good match. Tang Ao knew that Gu Lingfeng misunderstood, but he didn't explain. On the other hand, Chu Shuahan wanted to explain, but she didn't know how to start. Turning around and seeing Tang Ao smiling evilly, Chu Shuahan glared at Tang Ao fiercely before reaching out and fiercely poking Tang Ao's waist. Chapter 11:67. This golden hammer was quite powerful. Just now, the little fox had used it to almost break Gu Lingfeng's enchantment. Gu Lingfeng was an yin-yang realm warrior when he was alive. Even though he had been dead for many years, the enchantment he had set up was still quite powerful. And the fact that the little fox could use this golden hammer to break Gu Lingfeng's enchantment was enough to tell how special this golden hammer was. If I am not mistaken, that should be the legendary Grade 7 divine weapon, the Golden Thunder Hammer. This little fellow is really lucky. Gu Lingfeng's knowledge was obviously not something Tang Ao and the rest could compare with. After looking at it for a while, he had already recognized it. After hearing Gu Lingfeng's compliment, the little fox looked at Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan with a proud face. Seeing its proud look, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan both wanted to beat it up. "Junior brother, although there are a lot of treasures in this place, with your cultivation right now, it is still too dangerous. After millions of years, although most of the powerful warriors have died, there's still some who are hiding in the dark, preparing to take over another body. So, junior brother, you should leave as soon as possible and come back when your cultivation is higher." Tang Ao felt that Gu Lingfeng's words made sense. Just then, it was only an armored skeleton that had been dead for God knows how many years. Even Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan could not handle it. If it were someone else who was at the same cultivation as Gu Lingfeng, Tang Ao might not even have the chance to fight back. "Senior brother Gu, I wonder how we can leave this place? Also, senior brother's soul still exists. Is there a way to revive him?" Hearing Tang Ao's words, Gu Lingfeng's eyes brightened. He then asked, "Junior brother, are you really willing to help me revive? If I can do it, I will not reject." Tang Ao had a good impression of Gu Lingfeng. Plus, Gu Lingfeng was also his senior brother. If Gu Lingfeng could be revived, then Tang Ao would have a powerful yin-yang realm warrior to rely on. In a place like the ice and snow plain, not to mention yin-yang realm warriors, even astral-reaching realm warriors would be able to defeat them. However, Tang Ao also knew that although it would not be easy for an expert of Gu Lingfeng's level to die, it would not be easy for him to come back to life. "All right, since that's the case, I'll follow you out." After Gu Lingfeng spoke, a clear map appeared in Tang Ao's mind. At the same time, Gu Lingfeng turned into a jade pendant and flew before Tang Ao. Tang Ao put away the jade pendant, and then Gu Lingfeng's voice sounded in Tang Ao's ears. "Follow this path, and you will be able to leave this place. However, you must remember to be careful along the way. No matter what treasure you see, don't be greedy." Tang Ao nodded. After informing Chu Shuahan, he took Chu Shuahan and slowly left this place according to the route given by Gu Lingfeng. Just as Gu Lingfeng had said, Tang Ao had indeed seen many treasures along the way that tempted him. However, Tang Ao remembered Gu Lingfeng's words, so he did not act recklessly. According to Gu Lingfeng, most of these treasures had remnant souls attached to them. Once he touched these treasures, it was very possible that he would be possessed by the remnant souls. However, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan did not go to take these treasures. Instead, a strange-looking walking stick flew towards Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan. After this walking stick flew over, it immediately turned into an extremely ugly-looking old lady. The old lady glanced at Chu Shuahan, and then her face lit up. "Little girl, you can be my disciple." Chapter 11:68. Many thanks for Senior's good intentions. Junior already has a master, so I won't take Senior as my master. Facing this black, clothed old woman, Chu Shuahan was clearly nervous. Beside Chu Shuahan, Tang Ao was also secretly on guard. This was because Tang Ao discovered that he couldn't see through this black, clothed old woman's cultivation. Whether it was using soul remembrance or heavenly extreme pupil, Tang Ao could only see a cloud of black fog whenever he observed this black, clothed old woman. What? Little girl, you don't want to take me as your master? You have to know that many people want to take me as their master, but I don't like them. Chu Shuahan's refusal seemed to make the black, clothed old woman angry. Come, little girl, come with me. As the black, clothed old woman spoke, she extended a somewhat shriveled hand to grab Chu Shuan. Tang Ao's sharp senses suddenly sensed danger, so Tang Ao didn't have time to think. He grabbed Chu Shuahan's slender waist and flew out with her in his arms. With a flash of lightning, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan appeared 300 meters away from the black-clothed old woman. Where the black-clothed old woman's hand had grabbed, a cloud of black gas suddenly dispersed. When the black gas drifted to the surrounding short weeds, they quickly withered and soon turned into grass foam that scattered with the wind. Tang Ao instantly took Chu Shuahan away, which surprised the black-clothed old woman. Seeing the serene blue thundercloud under Tang Ao's feet, the black-clothed old woman let out a strange laugh. So it's Underworld Emperor's wind, thunder, underworld cloud. No wonder it has such speed. He. The black-clothed old woman let out a strange laugh. The laugh was like the sound of a broken bellows leaking air. Tang Ao was also a bit surprised. This black-clothed old woman actually knew of Underworld Emperor. Could this old woman be from the same generation as Underworld Emperor? Although his heart was filled with questions, Tang Ao still cupped his fists and said, "The two of us didn't offend Senior, so why did Senior have to do this?" As he spoke, Tang Ao secretly took out a spatial jade talisman. This black-robed old woman was too strange. Tang Ao was not sure if the wind thunder dark cloud would be able to escape from her hands. Therefore, Tang Ao could only activate the space jade talisman and escape. Little thing, on account of old ghost Netherworld Emperor, Granny will spare your life. Leave this little girl here to nourish Granny's body. At the same time the black-clothed old woman spoke, her body suddenly turned into a cloud of black mist and flew towards Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan. That speed was incomparably swift, and compared to Tang Ao's current full-force activation of the wind thunder dark cloud, it was only a hair slower. The moment the black-robed old woman flew over, Tang Ao immediately activated the space jade talisman. However, after activating the space jade talisman, Tang Ao's expression immediately changed. At some point in time, this space had actually been sealed by a faint black barrier. However, this barrier was a little strange. It seemed to be following the black-robed old woman as she moved. Therefore, instead of calling it a barrier, it was more like a kind of domain. After thinking up to this point, Tang Ao was already certain that this black-robed old woman was an old monster from the same generation as Underworld Emperor. However, this black-robed old woman's aura was much weaker than Underworld Emperor and the others. In that era, she was probably in existence at the bottom. However, Tang Ao still had a bitter expression. Even if she was in existence at the bottom of that era, she wasn't someone the current Tang Ao could deal with. Chapter 1169. In reality, Tang Ao's thoughts were completely correct, because along the way, there were indeed many remnant souls and some strange things flying towards Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan. However, after sensing the black-clothed old woman relentlessly chasing after Tang Ao, they immediately scattered in all directions. One of the skeletons that was as thin as a bamboo pole grumbled, "The Black Crow Venerable wants to enjoy 2 blood meals by herself. She really doesn't give people a way out." However, just as he finished speaking, the Black Crow Venerable, who was chasing behind Tang Ao, threw out a cloud of black fog. The black fog instantly enveloped the skinny skeleton. After being enveloped by the black fog immediately emitted a strange chewing sound, as well as the skeleton's miserable screams. Not long after, the black fog dissipated. The skinny skeleton's figure was nowhere to be seen. All that was left on the ground was a pile of powder. After Tang Ao and the Black Crow Venerable flew far away, a somewhat dim soul floated out from the powder and quickly flew far away. Lady Chu, I'm afraid that we won't be able to avoid this calamity today. Tang Ao carried Chu Xuahan as he sped away while laughing bitterly. Although the wind thunder dark cloud was incomparably fast when Tang Ao used all his strength to activate it, the consumption was also not small. Tang Ao estimated that if this continued, in less than an incense's time, his spirit power and soul remembrance would be exhausted. Then put me down. She only wants me to be her disciple. She probably won't make things difficult for you. Although Chu Xuahan spoke calmly, Chu Xuahan knew that the Black Crow Venerable didn't capture her just to make her disciple. However, this matter had nothing to do with Tang Ao. Chu Xuahan didn't want to implicate Tang Ao. Nonsense. In a bit, even if I die, I'll give her a lesson. As Tang Ao spoke, he continued to bring Chu Xuahan towards a barren mountain range. This ancient battlefield was mostly plains. After flying for nearly hundreds of thousands of miles, Tang Ao finally saw a somewhat strange mountain range. However, at this moment, Tang Ao couldn't care so much. He brought Chu Xuahan and flew towards the mountain range. This mountain range was huge, and the terrain was very complicated. Tang Ao felt a little lucky in his heart. If he took a detour to a place where the Black Crow Venerable's domain couldn't reach, he and Chu Xuan would have the opportunity to activate the Space Jade Talisman and escape. But what made Tang Ao helpless was that no matter how he brought Chu Xuan around a mountain range, they were still in the domain of the Black Crow Venerable. Moreover, there was another very bad news, and that was that his spiritual power was about to be exhausted. When Tang Ao's spiritual power ran out, Venerable Black Duck suddenly swatted at Tang Ao. A crow cawed and swooped at Tang Ao. Tang Ao immediately took out the Shinnon Cauldron and used it to block the attack from behind him. The crow, which looked like a black mist, made a sound of metal clashing when it hit the Shinnon Cauldron. The huge impact knocked Tang Ao and Chu Xuahan off the wind thunder dark cloud. The Black Crow Venerable instantly appeared in front of Tang Ao and Chu Xuahan. Like an eagle catching chicks, it stretched out its two palms to grab Tang Ao and Chu Xuahan's necks. Tang Ao wanted to dodge, but at this moment, Tang Ao's body seemed to be imprisoned by something. Tang Ao knew that this was not an illusion. At this moment, he was indeed bound by the domain of a chaotic sky rel powerhouse. Tang Ao just wanted to explode the primordial sacred heaven bow at the last moment to give the Black Crow Venerable a taste of his power, or even to perish together with the Black Crow Venerable. Chapter 1170. What Tang Ao didn't expect was that the Black Crow Venerable was so terrifying even though it was just a remnant soul. Just as Tang Ao was in despair, Tang Ao suddenly discovered that the Black Crow Venerable had stopped his movements and looked at the Shinnon Cauldron that Tang Ao had taken out in amazement. After a moment of amazement, the Black Crow Venerable looked at Tang Ao and asked, "Kid, is this the real Shinnon Cauldron?" Although he didn't know why the Black Crow Venerable would ask such a question, Tang Ao still answered, "This is indeed the Shinnon Emperor's Shinnon Cauldron." "You know the Shinnon Emperor? What's your relationship with the Shinnon Emperor?" The Black Crow Venerable's tone was a little excited when he asked this question, as if he had something urgent to discuss with the Shinnon Emperor. "I don't know why Senior is looking for the Shinnon Emperor." Tang Ao didn't directly say that he had accepted the Shinnon Emperor's inheritance. Although Tang Ao had easily obtained the Shinnon Emperor's inheritance, it didn't mean that it wasn't precious. In the myriad heavens, there were countless alchemists but only a few people could reach the peak of the alchemy Tao, and the Shinnong Emperor was one of them. You talk too much. I'm asking you, and you'll answer. If you dare to say anything more, I'll kill you first, and then kill your little girlfriend. The Black Crow Venerable's face flashed with a trace of anger as he said in a stern voice. However, Tang Ao obviously didn't buy it. After the Black Crow Venerable finished speaking, Tang Ao shut his mouth and didn't speak. At this moment, Tang Ao was also very nervous. Tang Ao secretly guessed that this old woman must have something to ask of the Shinnong Emperor if she was looking for the Shinnong Emperor. Otherwise, why would she look for the Shinnong Emperor for no reason? Listening to her tone, she and the Shinnong Emperor weren't friends. Forget it. There's no harm in telling you. The Venerable Black Crow was somewhat helpless when he saw that Tang Ao did not speak. It was easy for her to kill Tang Ao, but even if she killed Tang Ao, there was nothing she could do if Tang Ao didn't want to talk. Do you know about the Heavenly Pill? Immortal Grade 7 Heavenly Pill. Tang Ao blurted out. Of course, Tang Ao knew about this medicinal pill, but Tang Ao did not expect that this Black Crow Venerable was actually looking for the Shinnong Emperor to refine such a high-grade medicinal pill. Although a level 7 immortal grade pill was nothing to the Shinnong Emperor. However, Tang Ao was definitely unable to refine it. The heavenly pill had the effect of changing one's fate. It could provide pure vitality and make up for a martial artist's innate shortcomings. This pill sounded extremely domineering, but in reality, it was a very unpopular pill. Martial artists with innate deficiencies would face a lot of difficulties on the path of cultivation. Astral reaching realm was already the limit for this type of martial artist. As for astral reaching realm martial artists, they would definitely not need a level 7 immortal grade pill. At least, they would need to reach the chaotic heaven realm for it. In this way, martial artists with congenital deficiencies would have limited achievements on the path of martial arts, and martial artists with powerful cultivations wouldn't need a pill like the Heaven Pill. As a result, the Heaven Pill became an unpopular pill that almost no one cared about. After understanding the effects of the Heavenly Pill, Tang Ao looked at the Black Crow Venerable again. Then, Tang Ao shockingly discovered that although the Black Crow Venerable seemed to be full of vitality, there was a decaying aura coming from her body. Moreover, Tang Ao shockingly discovered that the vitality in her body was fading away at a horrifying speed. It was just that she was constantly robbing vitality from the surroundings to replenish herself, and there was no sign of her vitality dying. After seeing this, Tang Ao understood why she wanted the Heavenly Pill. It seemed like only the Heavenly Pill could solve her situation. Chapter 1171. Tang Ao didn't know what had happened to the Black Crow Supremacy, but he still replied, Shinnong Emperor has already fallen. I obtained the Shinnong Emperor's Pill Tao inheritance. As for the Sky Pill, I can't refine it right now. What did you say? Shinnong Emperor has fallen? The Black Crow Supremacy suddenly raised its voice. The reason why she had racked her brains to come to this lousy place was because she wanted to make use of this passageway to head to the Xianhuang world to look for Emperor Shinnong. But now, Tang Ao was telling her that Emperor Shinnong had fallen. Tell me everything you know without missing a single word. If I'm satisfied, I won't kill you too. Hearing this, Tang Ao's heart skipped a beat. Tang Ao obviously wasn't hoping that the Black Crow Supremacy would let him and Chu Shuahan go after he finished speaking. Instead, it was because Tang Ao noticed that the Black Crow Supremacy's domain had actually weakened. If this was the case, Tang Ao only needed to borrow the power of the array to break through her domain and escape with the Spatial Jade Talisman. However, under the Black Crow Supremacy's eyes, using array flags to set up an array clearly wouldn't work. Therefore, he could only use the void array patterns to set up an array. The void array patterns were directly inscribed in the surrounding space using soul remembrance. Unless one was proficient in array Tao, it would be hard to detect even a trace. As Tang Ao told the Black Crow supremacy about the bound of universe and the origin magnetic realm, he was secretly setting up the void array patterns. Tang Ao had only heard this from Underworld Emperor and the others. Therefore, Tang Ao was only repeating it verbatim. Chu Xuahan, who was listening by the side, was confused. She clearly didn't know much about the outside world. However, Tang Ao and Chu Xuahan didn't notice that when Tang Ao mentioned the origin magnetic Tao sovereign, the Black Crow supremacy's eyes clearly flashed with a hint of resentment. Tang Ao wasn't bad at array Tao, but setting up the void array patterns was too difficult. Thus, by the time Tang Ao had finished speaking, only 2/3 of the void runes had been set up. And this was because Tang Ao had deliberately slowed down the speed of his speech. Tang Ao also wanted to make up something to delay the time, but Tang Ao was worried that the Black Crow Venerable and the Shinnong Emperor were people from the same era. She could easily see through his nonsense. Venerable Black Crow no longer looked at Tang Ao coldly after Tang Ao told him about the grudge between Ming Di and Lord Magnetite. Ha! So you and the origin magnetic Tao sovereign are enemies. Good. After learning of the enmity between Tang Ao and origin magnetic Tao Lord, Black Crow Venerable suddenly let out a strange laugh and even said good 3 times. Could it be that Senior also has a grudge against Lord Magnetite? Venerable Black Crow did not attack immediately. Tang Ao was happy to see this. Thus, Tang Ao also took the initiative to ask. He wanted to stall for more time. As long as he finished setting up the void array patterns, he could use the experience of array Tao to break through Venerable Black Crow's domain. As long as he broke through Venerable Black Crow's domain, Tang Ao would immediately activate the spatial Jade Talisman and escape with Chu Xuahan. Grudge? I'm the daughter of Lord Magnetite. Do you think I have a grudge against him? Venerable Black Crow looked at Tang Ao and said in a joking tone. Hearing this, Tang Ao was shocked. He almost made a mistake when he was about to finish setting up the void array patterns. Fortunately, Tang Ao had lived 2 lives, so his temperament was extraordinary. Thus, Tang Ao was only stunned for a moment before he immediately said, Senior must be joking. Tang Ao did not say whether Venerable Black Crow and Lord Magnetite had a grudge against each other. Instead, he gave a vague answer. Chapter 1172. Tang Ao didn't expect Supremacy Black Crow and Primal Magnetic Tao Lord to have such a relationship. However, Tang Ao still nodded his head. Senior Ming Di told me before his reincarnation that Primal Magnetic Great Emperor showed signs of breaking through during his battle with him. Hence, he asked this junior to focus on cultivation before his reincarnation and not be anxious. Tang Ao was simply spouting nonsense. Even Ming Di himself wasn't sure when his reincarnation would be successful. The reason why Mo Wuji mentioned Ming Di was to make Supremacy Black Crow a little fearful so that he wouldn't kill him. Don't use Ming Di to scare me. I'm not even afraid of Primal Magnetic Great Emperor. Why would I be afraid of Ming Di? Supremacy Black Crow clearly saw through Tang Ao's thoughts. The 2 of you can scram. This old woman is in a good mood today. I'll spare your lives. As he spoke, Supremacy Black Crow retracted his aura. Tang Ao and Chu Xuahan also felt their bodies lighten. They didn't feel that oppressive feeling anymore. Originally, Tang Ao planned to use the spatial Jade Talisman to escape. However, Tang Ao suddenly changed his mind. This Supremacy Black Crow wasn't weak. Moreover, he had a feud with Primal Magnetic Great Emperor. He would definitely be of great help in the future. Although Supremacy Black Crow wasn't as strong as he used to be, it wouldn't be a problem for him to sweep through the Xitigarbis cemetery. Although Tang Ao couldn't concoct the Heaven Pill now, Tang Ao could try to concoct some Heaven Yuan pills. Heaven Yuan Pill and Heaven Yuan Pill might only differ by 1 word, but the difference was like a chasm. Heaven Yuan Pill was a Tier 7 immortal pill, while Heaven Yuan Pill was only a Tier 1 immortal pill. Tang Ao was already a peak Tier 6 spiritual pill master. He was only a step away from a Tier 1 immortal pill. Although the Heaven Yuan pill wasn't as overbearing as the Heaven Yuan pill, it could more or less alleviate Supremacy Black Crow's symptoms. Thinking of this, Tang Ao immediately said, "Senior Black Crow, this junior might not be able to concoct the Heaven Yuan pill now. However, I can concoct the Heaven Yuan pill to alleviate senior's symptoms." What is a Qin Yuan pill? Venerable Black Crow wasn't proficient in alchemy. Moreover, this Heaven Essence pill was a simplified auxiliary pill that the Shinnong Emperor had created based on the Heaven Essence pill. Therefore, there were even fewer people who knew about it. Chu Xuahan and Empyrean Black Crow knew about the Heaven pill, but the two of them had never heard of the Heaven Essence pill. Immediately, Tang Ao explained the Qin Yuan pill to the two of them, and only then did they understand. After listening to Tang Ao's explanation, the Black Crow Venerable was overjoyed, while Chu Xuahan was secretly amazed at the Shinnong Emperor's attainments in the Tao of Alchemy. Thinking that Tang Ao was the successor of the Shinnong Emperor, Chu Xuahan was a little envious of Tang Ao's good luck. Alright, this Heaven Essence pill is not bad. If you can refine 10,000 Heaven Essence pills for me, I will help you with one thing. How about it? After knowing that Tang Ao could concoct a pill like the Heaven Essence pill, the Black Crow Venerable's attitude towards Tang Ao had obviously changed. However, Tang Ao originally wanted to tie the Black Crow Venerable to his side as a fighter. How could it be so easy? Therefore, Tang Ao's face was very solemn as he said, "Senior, refining the Heaven Essence pill doesn't require half of the pill refiner's life force, but every refinement requires the pill refiner's life force. Even if this junior is willing to go all out, I'm afraid that I can't refine so many Heaven Essence pills for senior. Moreover, this junior's alchemy skills are still at the level of a 6th grade spirit pill refiner. If I want to refine the Heaven Essence pill, I still need some time." Hearing Tang Ao's words, the Black Crow Venerable's eyes turned. "If that's the case, when can you give me the Heaven Essence pill?" Chapter 1173. All right, I'll wait for you here for a month. After a month, bring the refined Heaven Essence pills here to find me. No matter how many you refine, I'll do one thing for you. The Black Crow Venerable pondered for a moment and said to Tang Ao, "How could one thing be enough?" Tang Ao secretly pondered in his heart. Although this Black Crow Venerable looked ordinary, his cultivation was not to be underestimated. With him by his side, even if he encountered Lei Lingyun, Tang Ao would not be afraid. Therefore, Tang Ao thought for a moment and said, "Senior, the herbs needed to refine the Heaven Essence pills can be said to be inexhaustible in this place. It's just that this junior's strength is too low, and I've offended many people in the Xidigarda Cemetery. Therefore, this junior is worried that before this junior can help senior refine the pills, this junior will be killed by others." "You mean, you want me to follow by your side and be your free thug? How could an old monster like the Black Crow Venerable, who had lived for countless years, be so easy to fool?" With a thought, he understood Tang Ao's idea. "I can protect you, but how many Heaven Essence pills can you refine for me?" As soon as he heard this, Tang Ao knew that there was a chance. Since there was a chance, the next step was to ask for a sky-high price. After a month, how about this junior refine a Heaven Essence pill for senior every day? This way, this junior will only need around 28 years to refine 10,000 Heaven Essence pills for senior. Moreover, after such a long time, if this junior's luck is not bad, I'll most likely be able to refine Heaven Essence pills for senior. For ordinary people, 28 years was not a short period of time. However, for martial artists, especially those with profound cultivation, it was possible for them to go into closed-door training for 100 years. For them, 20 years was nothing. 28 years is not long, but I don't have that much time to waste. How about this? You give me 5 Heaven Essence pills every day, and after 3 years, refine Heaven Essence pills for me. If you can't do it, I'll kill you." Senior, with this junior's ability, refining one heaven essence pill a day is already my limit. If I were to refine so many heaven essence pills a day before this junior could refine enough pills for senior, I'm afraid that my vitality would dry up and I would die. In terms of cultivation, Tang Ao was far inferior to the Black Crow Venerable. However, in terms of bargaining, Tang Ao deliberately treated her like an ancestor. In that case, 3 pills a day. You will refine 2, and your little girlfriend will refine 1. After pondering for a moment, the Black Crow Venerable pointed at Chu Shuahan beside Tang Ao and said, Miss Chu is not an alchemist. Of course, Tang Ao would not compromise so easily. Moreover, Tang Ao did not believe that this old woman could tell whether someone was an alchemist or not. Idiot, you have the legacy of the Shinong Emperor. You could just teach her how to refine pills. How can you be so selfish? After the Black Crow Venerable finished speaking, without waiting for Tang Ao to speak, Chu Shuahan immediately said, This junior is willing to refine pills for senior. Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, please teach Shuahan well in alchemy in the future. Hearing this, Tang Ao was immediately speechless. Chu Shuahan obviously wanted to learn the legacy of the Shinong Emperor in alchemy and take advantage of this matter to take advantage of it. Senior, I can only refine 2 heaven essence pills for you a day at most. Otherwise, the vitality that we lost will not be replenished. In less than half a year, the 2 of us will also die. Refining 3 heaven essence pills a day was not a big problem for Tang Ao, but Tang Ao was now sure that the Black Crow Venerable did not know anything about alchemy. Moreover, bringing the Black Crow Venerable along was like asking a tiger for its skin. Chapter 1174. After hearing Tang Ao's words, the Black Crow Supremacy stared at Tang Ao with his turbid eyes, as though he was trying to read Tang Ao's true thoughts. However, to the Black Crow Venerable's disappointment, Tang Ao's eyes were very calm, without the slightest fluctuation. Therefore, the Black Crow Supremacy wasn't sure if Tang Ao was telling the truth. All right, you will start refining elixirs for me in a month. However, I won't be following you for too long. I will leave this place in at most 2 months. The Black Crow Supremacy felt helpless. Although the Heaven Essence elixir couldn't cure her illness, it could alleviate or even suppress her symptoms with a large number of Heaven Essence elixirs. As long as the vitality in her body wasn't fading away, she could focus all her energy on cultivation and wouldn't have to think of ways to maintain her vitality. The Sage Dao meet was about to begin, and given her current cultivation level, she wouldn't stand much of a chance. Her Celestial Chaos Realm cultivation level might seem pretty good, but even at her peak, she would only be an average existence among the Celestial Chaos Realm experts. Dao Master experts definitely wouldn't miss out on the Sage Dao meet. Tang Ao didn't know what the Black Crow Supremacy was thinking or what the Sage Dao meet was. At this moment, Tang Ao was considering how he could leave this ancient battlefield immediately and raise his alchemy skills to the level of a Grade 1 alchemy master within a month. Tang Ao had a vague feeling that the reason he hadn't been able to sense the door to becoming a Grade 1 alchemy master was because of his cultivation level. Therefore, Tang Ao had to find a way to recover his cultivation level in the spiritual ice fruit forest as soon as possible. Compared to advancing to a Grade 1 alchemy master, recovering his cultivation level was Tang Ao's top priority. Senior, are we going to leave now? Tang Ao asked the Black Crow Supremacy. The 2 of you leave first. Bring the elixir pills to me in a month. I will follow you out then. Before obtaining the Heaven Essence elixir, the Black Crow Supremacy would need to constantly absorb vitality from the outside world to maintain his vitality. On this godly monarch battlefield, there was the vitality Dao accumulation of godly monarch powerhouses. It was very easy for Black Crow Supremacy to survive here. Venerable Black Crow's remnant soul would soon perish if it followed Tang Ao and it didn't have a powerful life force spiritual treasure to support it. Hearing Venerable Black Crow's words, Tang Ao's face turned bitter. Tang Ao originally planned to trick Venerable Black Crow into going out to deal with Lu Sanyuan and the others. But now that Venerable Black Crow insisted on not going out, Tang Ao had no other choice. However, Tang Ao still asked, with Senior's current state, what realm is a martial artist at? Humph, little thing, do you still want me to help you deal with your enemy? The moment Tang Ao asked, his thoughts were immediately seen through by Venerable Black Crow. However, the Black Crow Venerable still said, anything below the astral reaching realm is fine. But I will not take the initiative to help you kill. As long as your life is in danger, then I will help. Moreover, every time I help, you will have to give me 30 heaven essence elixirs. After Venerable Black Crow finished speaking, his body turned into a clump of black fog and disappeared. At the same time, Venerable Black Crow's voice came out from Adair. 1 month later, as long as you step into this place, I will be able to sense it. After saying this, Venerable Black Crow's aura disappeared completely. Although he did not manage to trick Venerable Black Crow out, Tang Ao still felt a lot more at ease in his heart. This time, the most powerful martial artist who entered the Earth Bodhisattva Cemetery was Lei Lingyun, who was at the peak of life and death realm level 9. And Lei Lingyun really wanted the heavenly star art from him. Therefore, Lei Lingyun would come looking for him sooner or later. Chapter 1175. A purple thunderbolt streaked across the sky, traveling thousands of miles in an instant. On top of the purple thunderbolt, there was a young man and woman. The man had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, with a long sword tied to his back. The woman had a picturesque appearance and a slim figure, as though she was a fairy from a painting. This young man and woman were Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan. 3 days ago, when the two left the ancient battlefield, they flew around the snowy plains. In a map that Tang Ao obtained, the Spirit Ice Fruit Forest was in a valley covered in snow, so Tang Ao guessed that the Spirit Ice Fruit Forest was in this region. But this snowy plains was also boundless, and Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan flew for a few days, but they still couldn't find that inconspicuous valley. With the little fox's help, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan found quite a number of rare spiritual herbs and immortal spiritual herbs. Meep, meep. Just as Tang Ao rode the wind thunder dark cloud over an ice lake, the little fox suddenly cried out in excitement. And, seeing the little fox's behavior, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan looked at each other, and they both understood that this little fellow must have found some treasure. But what made Tang Ao a little confused was that this ice lake was surrounded by martial artists. Why do these people feel so weird? Chu Shuahan looked down and asked with some doubt. There were quite a number of martial artists below, at least 300 people. These people's cultivation were all different, and their aura was a little strange. Let's watch from afar first, and see what they want to do. Tang Ao also felt that something was wrong. The group of martial artists in front of them ranged from Sea of Soul to Life and Death Realm, but the aura they emitted was very strange. Seeing this situation, Tang Ao suddenly felt that it was a little familiar. A moment later, Tang Ao's heart jolted with shock. I understand, these are cultivators from other realms. Martial artists from other domains? Are they from the Black-Yellow continent? Chu Shuahan didn't know much about other domains, but she knew a little. No, although the bound of Yellow Continent and the Winter Plains are not in the same plane, they both belong to the bound of Yellow World. Therefore, although there were some differences between the martial artists of the Black-Yellow Continent and the martial artists of the Snow Plains, the difference was not huge. But look at these people. The way they circulate their spiritual energy is completely different from ours. That's why their aura is so strange. Tang Ao used his skypole eyes to scan the martial artists. Then why did the martial practitioners from the other realms come to Xitigarbis Cemetery? Did they also come to the Xitigarbis Cemetery to find treasures? Chu Shuahan asked with uncertainty. According to what my senior Guling Feng said, The Xitigarbis Cemetery is a battlefield left behind by a battle between god kings. These people are probably here for the relics of god kings. However, I can't figure out how these people entered the Xitigarbis Cemetery. Could it be that there are other entrances to the Xitigarbis Cemetery? When Tang Ao and the others entered the Xitigarbis Cemetery, 9 peak life and death realm martial artists had worked together to tear a crack in the weakest part of the barrier. Although the 300 martial artists in front of him were not bad, and there was no lack of life and death realm martial artists among them, compared to the old Medicine King and the others, they were far inferior. Therefore, Tang Ao became more and more confused about how they had entered. Just as Tang Ao was puzzled, Tang Ao suddenly noticed a familiar figure. "What's wrong?" Chu Shuihan asked when she saw Tang Ao's surprised expression. Chapter 1176. Tang Ao thought for a moment and recalled that Zhou Yun had obtained a strange fan at that time. Tang Ao was able to determine that it was a divine weapon. As for how high the grade of the divine weapon was, Tang Ao had no idea. Moreover, Tang Ao discovered that Zhou Yun seemed to have a secret technique to change his aura. When Tang Ao first saw Zhou Yun's aura was no different from that of the martial practitioners of the icy plains. But now, Zhou Yun's aura had become the same as that of the 4 martial practitioners. Just as Tang Ao was looking at Zhou Yun from afar, Zhou Yun also opened his eyes. Taking out a star instrument, Zhou Yun said indifferently, "It's about time. It's time for the high priest to come over." After Zhou Yun finished speaking, the martial practitioners beside him also nodded. These people were all wearing silver armor and were life and death realm powerhouses. One of them, a martial practitioner with a sinister scar on his face, said coldly, "Activate the array." There was an array here? Tang Ao was alarmed and hurriedly used his sky polar eyes to look around. If he and Chu Shuihan had inexplicably barged into a large array, then he, as a peak 6 grade spirit array master, would be too useless. But even after Tang Ao used his sky polar eyes to look around for a long time, Tang Ao still didn't find any traces of an array. But at this time, Tang Ao suddenly discovered that the 360 martial practitioners were arranged according to a special position. Seeing this scene, Chu Shuihan didn't understand, but Tang Ao was quite shocked. Among these 300 martial practitioners, there was no lack of life and death realm martial practitioners, but at this moment, these life and death realm martial practitioners were abandoned, or rather, they were willing to sacrifice themselves. Chu Shuihan couldn't tell what they were doing, but Tang Ao knew that these people were sacrificing themselves for the array. A large array that required so many martial practitioners as sacrifices was simply unheard of for Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao knew that since this array formation required so many sacrifices, its might would definitely not be a small matter. At this moment, everyone suddenly stopped in unison. At the same time, a strong spatial ripple slowly spread out from the center of the lake. Is there something terrifying coming? Chu Shuihan's pretty face was a little nervous. The Xitigarbis Cemetery was already dangerous enough. Chu Shuihan didn't expect to encounter such a thing in the Xitigarbis Cemetery. Indeed, with so many people using their souls as sacrifices, it is very likely that it will be an astral-reaching realm warrior. Tang Ao wasn't very familiar with this array formation, but as a grade 6 spiritual array master, Tang Ao wasn't completely clueless about it. We can't stop this soul sacrifice array, but we can cause some damage. Destroy? How do I destroy it? Chu Shuihan was really struggling with regards to array formations. There are a total of 360 souls sacrificed in this formation, but the 36 people in the celestial dipper position are the key. If we can kill all of them within a second, then this array will most likely be broken. Tang Ao looked at the 36 warriors in the celestial dipper position and said. However, Tang Ao also knew that with his and Chu Shuihan's power, it would be impossible for them to do this. If the Black Crow Venerable was here, then they could try. Chu Shuihan shook her head. Even the weakest among them is a life and death realm level 2 martial practitioner. The two of us can't do it. Chapter 1177. Stop. Just as Tang Ao was thinking about how to kill that warrior, the person in the middle of the crowd suddenly raised his right hand, signaling for everyone to stop. He then said, "You guys go capture 3 life and death realm warriors nearby. The faster, the better." After Zhou Yun finished speaking, the 10 armored warriors beside him nodded at the same time. Then their bodies flashed and disappeared. The activation of the array suddenly stopped, causing the 360 warriors who were performing the soul sacrifice to puke out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their aura instantly weakened a lot, and some of the Sea of Souls realm warriors even wobbled a couple of times before falling to the ground. However, they quickly stood up again. From their eyes, Tang Ao could see a crazy obsession. Tang Ao did not know what these warriors wanted, but Tang Ao knew that if he could not cause some trouble for these crazy warriors, then he would not be able to find a spirit ice fruit anymore. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A couple of wind-breaking sounds flashed over Tang Ao's head. Then, Tang Ao saw the 10 warriors who had just left return. Each of them had at least 1 life and death realm warrior in their hands, and at most 3 life and death realm warriors. Tang Ao could tell that this person was only at the 3rd level of the life and death realm, and among the warriors he had captured, there were 2 at the 4th level of the life and death realm. "You are Zhou Yun of the Towering Rock Tribe?" "Zhou Yun, why are there so many people from your Towering Rock Tribe? I have never offended you before. So why did you capture me?" One of the captured 4th level life and death realm warriors seemed to know Zhou Yun. Facing his question, Zhou Yun only glanced at him coldly and said, "Leave these 3 4th level life and death realm martial artists. Kill the rest." Just as Zhou Yun's voice faded, the 10 silver armored martial artists attacked without hesitation. With the sound of blades being unsheathed, these warriors' heads rolled onto the ground. Among the warriors who had been captured, only 3 4th level life and death realm warriors were still alive. "Zhou Yun, are you crazy? Can your Towering Rock Tribe handle the anger of so many tribes? Let me go now, and I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, noisy." Before this martial artist could finish speaking, the silver-armored martial artist beside him punched him in the mouth with an iron fist. Instantly, several teeth flew out. Chu Shuahan had never seen such a terrifying scene before. She leaned against Tang Ao in fear. Tang Ao could also feel that Chu Shuahan was a little scared, so he stretched out his arm to hug Chu Shuahan, telling her not to be afraid. After Chu Shuahan's emotions calmed down a little, Tang Ao also released his arm. Chu Shuahan looked at Tang Ao. She wanted to say something, but didn't say it. Tang Ao gestured for her to keep quiet, then took out the primordial sacred heavenly bow. If it was just now, Tang Ao did not have the confidence to kill that life and death realm 2nd stage martial artist with the primordial sacred sky bow. But not long ago, Zhou Yun had ordered them to stop the array formation, and this cultivator had clearly suffered a severe backlash. At this moment, the aura around his body was very unstable, and his soul psyche was also very scattered. As Tang Ao stared at this martial artist, Zhou Yun once again gave the order to start the sacrificial array. The moment everyone started the sacrificial array, the 3 captured warriors immediately let out earth-shattering screams. Tang Ao used his sky polar pupils and saw traces of black chi penetrating through space and entering the bodies of these 3 warriors. Chapter 1178. At this moment, Tang Ao was not in a hurry to make his move, because Tang Ao knew that even if he killed that 2nd level Sea of Souls realm martial artist now, the other 10 martial artists in silver armor would be able to instantly fill up the empty spots. Therefore, even if Tang Ao wanted to make his move, he could only do it at the last moment of the Great Array. As long as he made his move at that moment, it would be the most effective. At the same time, if he made his move at that moment, Tang Ao would also be able to see what kind of horrifying existence these crazy guys had teleported over. At this moment, the three martial artists who had been captured had already stopped screaming. However, their auras were still growing stronger. Right now, their auras had already reached the 9th level of life and death realm, and there was no sign of it stopping. Seeing this, Tang Ao was a bit hesitant. The thing that was about to be teleported over was far more powerful than Tang Ao could imagine. That powerhouse did not descend with his own body. He only attached his divine sense to the 3 4th-stage life and death realm martial artists. Yet, he was able to raise the cultivation base of the 4 4th-stage life and death realm martial artists to the 9th-stage life and death realm. Finally, the auras of the 3 martial artists completely disappeared, and their cultivation base had also increased to the astral reaching realm. After reaching the astral reaching realm, their bodies had also started to change. Their palms had slowly turned into a pair of sharp claws covered in scales and barbs, and their legs had also disappeared. Soon, their lower bodies had turned into a dragon tail. In an instant, the 3 human martial artists had turned into monsters with a human body and a dragon tail. However, these 3 flood dragon people all had their eyes tightly closed, and a pair of dragon horns had also slowly appeared on top of their heads. The eyelids of the one in the front had even twitched a bit. Right at this moment, Tang Ao suddenly jumped up. At the same time, Tang Ao pulled the primordial sacred heaven bow into a full moon shape and shot an arrow at the dying 2nd level life and death realm martial artist. Tang Ao's arrow was extremely fast. A golden light flickered in the air, and it instantly appeared in front of the 2nd level life and death realm martial artist. In the blink of an eye, the 2nd level life and death realm martial artist only saw stars flash before his eyes, and then suddenly exploded with a bang. The instant the warrior's body exploded, the 3 flood dragon humans that were teleported here opened their eyes. However, when the 3 of them opened their eyes at the same time, they spat out a mouthful of blood. Along with this mouthful of blood, their cultivation bases, which were originally at the peak of the 1st layer of the astral reaching realm, instantly weakened. Soon, they were at the peak of the 9th layer of the life and death realm. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao was overjoyed in his heart. However, Tang Ao did not dare to stay for too long. He immediately hugged Chu Shiwahan, and then activated the wind thunder dark cloud with all his might to fly into the distance. Chase! Zhou Yuan's face was ashen as he stared at the Tang Ao duo. Their plan had originally been foolproof, and Zhou Yun had already checked the surroundings several times. But Zhou Yun had never imagined that at the last moment, there would be 2 ants hiding right under his nose. Although he had succeeded in the end, they had also caused him a great deal of trouble. At that moment, the people who had performed the soul sacrifice also collapsed one after another. In the end, they turned into wisps of black smoke that drifted towards the 3 flood dragon humans in the middle. After a long while, the auras of the 3 flood dragon humans finally stabilized. Seeing the 3 open their eyes again, Zhou Yun immediately knelt on one knee and said, "High Priest, this subordinate has failed in his duty. I am willing to accept punishment." Chapter 1179. Tang Ao carried Chu Shiwahan as he urged the wind thunder nether cloud to fly. However, at this moment, Tang Ao felt a terrifying soul remembrance envelop his body. Without waiting for Tang Ao to do anything, Tang Ao felt his head buzz and his body feel like it was about to explode. Without Tang Ao's control, the wind thunder nether cloud also instantly disappeared. Although Chu Shiwahan instantly grabbed Tang Ao and brought Tang Ao to flee into the distance, the 2 of them were still getting closer and closer to the silver-armored warrior chasing after them. However, the distance between the 2 of them and the silver-armored martial artist was getting closer and closer. The silver-armored martial artist's face was filled with rage, wishing that he could swallow Tang Ao alive. If it wasn't for Tang Ao's sudden interruption at the last moment, the three priests would have been able to descend here in their strongest state. That way, they would have quickly found the godly king's remains hidden here. If they found the godly king's remains, the rise of the evil dragon realm would be just around the corner. However, because of Tang Ao, the three priests' strength was greatly reduced. It was unknown how long they would have to search for the godly king's remains in this boundless Ksitigarbis cemetery. In the air, just as Tang Ao was suffering from the soul remembrance enveloping him, the primal Chaos 6 light mirror on Tang Ao's body suddenly burst forth with a shocking power, instantly dispelling the soul remembrance enveloping Tang Ao. After the remembrance shackles were broken, the high priest's face changed. Soon after, he was overjoyed. This little thing has a trace of the godly king's aura. Although it isn't the godly king's remains, he must have obtained some treasure from the godly king. Tell Haritu that he must capture these two ants alive. After the primal Chaos 6 light mirror broke the soul remembrance shackles enveloping him, Tang Ao immediately felt his body lighten. Promptly, Tang Ao summoned the wind thunder nether cloud again and flew into the distance. However, when Tang Ao flew away, Tang Ao saw several rays of light flying in his direction. Tang Ao immediately scanned the area with his skypolarity eyes. Shortly after, Tang Ao saw that Lei Ming and the other two were flying towards him. Moreover, Lei Ming and the other two were also chasing someone, and the person they were chasing was someone Tang Ao knew. It was Lu Sanyuan, who had taken all the benefits in the dilapidated cave abode. Lu Sanyuan's speed wasn't slow, and it didn't take him long to arrive in front of Tang Ao. After seeing Tang Ao, Lu Sanyuan was overjoyed and immediately grabbed at Tang Ao. But Tang Ao was on guard against him. With a flash of wind thunder dark cloud, he appeared 300 meters away from Lu Sanyuan. At this time, Lei Ming and the other two also flew over. After seeing Lei Ming, Lu Sanyuan immediately said, "Second young master Lei, Tang Ao is here. I already said that I didn't kill Tang Ao. Now that I've found Tang Ao, please don't chase me anymore." Lei Ming naturally noticed Tang Ao, but before Lei Ming could react, Tang Ao immediately said, "Brother Lei, Brother Lu came at the right time. Let's deal with this person together." Seeing Tang Ao come to a stop, Haritu revealed a look of joy. However, it did not take long for Haritu to feel happy. Haritu then noticed that these people seemed to be in cahoots with each other. Moreover, their cultivation bases were not weak. Haritu immediately sent a request for help to the high priest, then took out a bone knife and slashed at the nearest Lu Sanyuan. Chapter 1180. Mr. Yu was the first to react. He immediately jumped out of the battle and said, "Please wait. That person has nothing to do with us." However, the three people who had rushed over did not listen to him. Instead, they all looked at Haritu. Haritu roared angrily. "Just now, I almost caught that brat. It was because of these four people that he escaped. Let's attack together and capture them, then go after that brat." Although Haritu looked rash, he was also very meticulous. Ever since Haritu saw Tang Ao run away, he knew that Tang Ao did not have a good relationship with these people. However, Haritu did not want to admit his mistake. Therefore, he could only make the best of it and fight to the death with Lei Ming and the others. The three people who rushed over didn't know what had just happened, but Haritu was usually honest and simple, so they naturally believed Haritu's words unconditionally. Therefore, each of them found an opponent, and the battle between the two sides was about to begin. Mr. Yu was at the 7th level of the life and death realm. He was stronger than Haritu and the others. However, the martial artist that was holding him back was also not ordinary. Therefore, Mr. Yu could not escape for a while. Lei Ming was at the 5th level of the life and death realm. He was the weakest in the group. At this moment, he was fighting the silver-armored martial artist in front of him. As for the battle here, Tang Ao did not know. However, Tang Ao felt very carefree. Just now, Lei Ming's group of 4 was blocking the path in front of them, and Hari too was chasing after them from behind. Originally, they were doomed to die. Fortunately, Tang Ao had an idea and borrowed Laming's group of 4 to block Hari. Tuesday Tang Ao thought to himself, if Lei Ming and the other 3 accidentally killed Hari too, then it would be even more perfect. Moreover, Lei Ming and the other 3 were not weak. They were not easy to deal with. Therefore, the possibility of this happening was very high. If it was just Lei Ming and the other 3 fighting Hari too, then killing Hari too would not be a difficult task. But what Tang Ao didn't know was that after he left, Haruto also called for 3 helpers. Tang Ao brought Chu Shuahan and flew for a distance before landing in a mountain range. After finding a cave, Tang Ao and Lu Li entered the cave. After escaping from danger, the little fox also crawled out of Chu Shuahan's embrace. Then, the little fox jumped onto the ground and gestured to Tang Ao and Li Wuyo. But even after the little fox gestured for a long time, Tang Ao still didn't understand what it was gesturing for. Tang Ao did not understand, but Chu Shuahan had a rough idea. Chu Shuahan's beautiful eyes swiveled as she asked the little fox, "You're saying that there's a treasure beneath that frozen lake? Shall we go back and look for it?" Hearing Chu Shuahan's words, the little fox nodded in approval. It was obviously praising Chu Shuahan for being too smart to understand its meaning so quickly. But Chu Shuahan rolled her eyes at it. There are many powerful fellows there just now. If we go there to look for the treasure, we'll be finished. Chu Shuahan said as she knocked the little fox's head. But the little fox became anxious. It opened its 2 little paws and gestured again. Seeing the little fox's appearance, Chu Shuahan burst into laughter. Then she said to Tang Ao, "The little fellow said that there's a big treasure beneath the frozen lake. He wants us to sneak a look." Chapter 1181. Someone's coming. Just as Tang Ao was about to discuss with Chu Shuahan, Tang Ao's soul remembrance suddenly detected a martial artist rushing towards this place. Seeing this martial artist, Tang Ao's expression turned to shock. Not long ago, Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan personally saw this martial artist being beheaded by a silver-armored martial artist. Yet, this martial artist had managed to escape here alive. Only his aura was extremely weak, as if he had used some secret technique that consumed a lot of energy. Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan glanced at each other and walked out of the cave. Before this martial artist could react, Tang Ao's netherworld sword was already at his throat. "Senior, spare me, spare me." With the netherworld sword at his throat, this martial artist immediately begged for mercy. However, after seeing that it was Tang Ao and Chu Shuahan and not the 3 Flood Dragon people or the silver-armored martial artists, this person let out a slight sigh of relief. Tang Ao naturally knew what he was thinking. Promptly, Tang Ao said, "Don't be happy too early. I'll ask you a few questions, and you have to answer them truthfully. If you lie, I'll let you die a bit more thoroughly this time." This martial artist was only at the 6th level of the Spirit Sea realm. Even at his peak, he wasn't Tang Ao's opponent, let alone now. "Sir, just ask. I'll definitely tell you everything I know." This person had a shifty-eyed appearance, as if he was afraid of death. However, his eyes weren't honest. Although he was captured by Tang Ao, his eyes were constantly staring at Chu Shuahan's graceful figure. Chu Shuahan felt a bit uncomfortable being stared at and glanced at him. "Let me ask you. Just now, I clearly saw you get beheaded by a silver-armored martial artist. How are you still able to appear here?" After Tang Ao finished asking, Chu Shuahan didn't wait for this person to speak before suddenly speaking. "I know who he is." After speaking, Chu Shuahan looked at this person and said, "The Nether Ghost Valley's undying ghost Luwen, aren't you?" After Chu Shuahan finished speaking, Luwen smiled bitterly. Then, his appearance changed, turning into a handsome young man. Seeing this, Chu Shuahan immediately smiled and said, "Brother Luwen, I didn't expect it to really be you." Seeming to know that Tang Ao did not know Luwen, Chu Shuahan immediately introduced him to Tang Ao It's just that Lu went to the Nether Ghost Valley, although he was born in the Nether Ghost Valley. What he did on the Winter Plains was robbing the rich to help the poor, punishing the evil, and promoting the good. Because he was incompatible with the Nether Ghost Valley, he was expelled from the Nether Ghost Valley. Because of what he had done, many forces wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, but they just couldn't kill him. Over time, he gained the title of the Undying Ghost. After listening to Chu Xiuhan's introduction, Tang Ao felt that this Lu one was a bit interesting. He immediately put away the Netherworld sword, and at the same time undid the restriction array on Lu Wen's body. After Tang Ao undid the restriction array, although Lu Wen's aura was still very weak, his cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the life and death realm. Tang Ao took out a great lotus pill and handed it to Lu Wen. After receiving it, Lu Wen swallowed the pill without any hesitation. He immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to adjust his breathing. After a while, Lu Wen's breathing gradually stabilized. Soon after, Lu Wen stood up and cupped his fist towards Tang Ao. Brother Tang Ao, not long ago, you shot that arrow at the last moment. It was truly a huge contribution to the Winter Plains. Hearing Lu Wen's words, Tang Ao was a bit confused, but he could only listen to Lu Wen. Just now, those people came from a place called the Evil Dragon Realm. These people seem to have come here to find something. Moreover, they have already set up an array in a place called the Twin Wolf Valley. Soon, there will be even more Evil Dragon Realm warriors coming to the Winter Plains. Those 3 Flood Dragon humans are experts from the Evil Dragon Realm. Brother Tang Ao's last arrow destroyed their array, causing the 3 Flood Dragon human strength to greatly decrease. The speed at which they set up the array in the Twin Wolf Valley has also greatly decreased. This is all what I heard when I used the death substitution secret technique to hide there. Right now, I have to quickly think of a way to inform the experts of the Winter Plains outside. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.